Hello everyone, welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It's November 15th of 2023. This is the sinister episode. I've decided this now. I don't know why, but it is. This is actually the Negaverse edition of Weekly Manga Recap, where we cover exclusively Shonen Jump series that aren't covered in the regular Weekly Manga Recap.
Okay.
Which means that we spend 30 minutes every episode dissecting the latest Sakamoto Days and Mission Yozakura Family chapters. Is Mission Yozakura Family still running?
Yes.
I'm going to pretend it is.
It is still running. I think it's ending, or not ending, but it's like wrapping up. It's starting its last arc, so who knows. You do know that would mean in the Negaverse version, which there's got to be a better word for it. Let's do Mirrorverse. Negaverse always has like...
No one else uses that.
Oh, yeah. Kill Blue, we would have to talk about that. You know, that'd be exciting. Roboco, we get to talk about that. Be like, I found it very funny that the author also enjoys fucking... I was trying to think of like an old Ice Shield 21. I'm sure there's been an Ice Shield 21 chapter at some point. So, you know, I also enjoy it. What else would we get? We would get, we'd get the final chapter of Ice Head Gill. Someone finally beat it when it came to the axe, Nick.
Wow. So that actually ended. Okay.
It's either ended this week or it ends next week. It's finally confirmed to be ending though, I believe.
So that means then that we're going to have a new crop of manga again. We just got over the newest one. Yeah. I just realized like it has been a while since we actually got new manga because we stuck with more than usual.
Yeah, we have, I believe, 2 new series coming up. I'm not sure exactly when that is, but sometime coming up soon. Nick, I have a challenge in myself.
A challenge.
There's a conflicting feeling I have in that I made a decision like a little over a month ago. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go on a walk every day. I'm gonna get like a 30-minute walk in, because everyone's like, it's good for you. You should do it. It's good for your mental health, all that sort of stuff. And I hate it because they're right. Like, I fully acknowledge everyone's correct. This is the right thing to do for your health, physical, mental, emotional. Like, it's good for everything. I just fucking hate it. I hate that it's right. I hate that I do it, and I always feel better. I am like an absolute fucking grump as I take this stupid walk that I know every day makes me feel better.
Right. No, I get that. I understand that completely. I understand the feeling of knowing that...
Oh no! Nick left just as he was about to give us some amazing piece of advice. What do you know, Nick? You're back now.
Yeah. So, you know what else? You know what? Something is sort of like that. Restarting my computer. I know that I should restart my computer occasionally so that it will stop trying to do this thing where it constantly messes up recordings and just like even general stuff. Just doing nothing on my computer, but it always takes so long to restart. And I know that if I just restarted it regularly, it wouldn't have so many updates and it would restart much faster. But it just kind of keeps on going like that.
We found our weaknesses, walks and updates. That's what's tearing us apart.
Yeah. Also, I hate walking too. So
yeah. Look, this is like a lesson from someone else. If you're feeling it, take your stupid walk. You'll probably fucking feel better. If it's too cold or the weather sucks, you could do it inside. But if you have the opportunity, you should do it outside because it's stupidly better. Getting sunlight's apparently good for you. It sucks. Everything's better afterwards. I hate it.
Yeah. My main problem with it isn't actually working up the urge to do it. It's the fact that I live in Florida, so it's never a good time to go for a walk, in my opinion.
Is it because of the weather or the vibe?
Mostly the former, but
Okay.
also yes, the latter. Yes.
Okay. Well, I can't help you with either of those, unfortunately. But I
Aw.
can root for you in the best of ways.
Well, I'm glad to know that that's the case.
Yeah. What if I trained like a small animal to be your companion? Thinking like a peacock to be your walking buddy.
Peacock?
Yeah, something like subtle. Something
In
that.
Florida.
Uh-huh. I'm sure they have them, right? Are peacocks in Florida? Let's see. These birds, the largest of the family of pheasants, are now found all through the South Florida area. So there you go.
Okay. If you say so.
So I'm gonna train you with no qualifications. I have absolutely no idea how to train any animal, let alone a peacock, specifically an exotic animal. But I'm gonna train one to be your walking buddy. It's gonna show up with little arm bands on, and it's like, what's going on there, Nicholas? It's gonna talk as well. I'm gonna train this bird to talk.
It's gonna be an interesting to see what happens after that. Just I go about town with my arm-having talking peacock.
What do you talk about? Let's role play this scenario out. Just be like, weather sure is nice today.
It's like, I don't know. How do you feel about the latest amendment that's in the House? Oh, I hope it kills all the gays. All right, you need to go.
You're like, I don't like you anymore, Florida bird. Go home. Go home.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I don't think there are any birds in any of the manga we're reading. This.
You say that now, but let's see.
I might be wrong. We do have a lot to talk about this week. I think we need to just get into it. Yeah, we're gonna start things off with My Hero Academia, chapter 406. Get a grip on your quirk. Okay.
That was my favorite song by Huey Lewis, actually. Get a grip on your quirk. That's actually the whole song. It ended there.
Yeah. Well, see, the problem was it was just Huey Lewis, so there was no news.
There was no news. So he dropped that.
He knows how to do that one riff, but then he doesn't know how to play instruments at all beyond that.
Get a grip on your quirk. And he looks around and he's like, nope, no one else is here. Nope, all right. And he just leaves the studio.
Okay.
I have a lot of dumb energy today. I apologize in advance.
Oh, really? The arm-having talking peacock that was going to help Nick go on walks was such a sane way to start the episode.
Oh, suddenly you have a problem with Brandon now, huh? He had a name. That's right.
I don't want to know his name.
We didn't even get there.
I don't want to know the name of my homophobic bird, okay? So we start this chapter off with a check-in on where a bunch of minor characters are, just to kind of reestablish, we're
going to dismiss Gang Orca like that?
Well, it's Gang Orca and a bunch of minor characters.
Okay, there we go.
Also, somebody got Hagakure a jacket. That was nice of them.
Yeah.
And basically just saying, like, hey, things are, like, getting under control. The evacuation has been successful. A lot of these different battlefields have been suppressed. They say that Mr. Skeptic has been captured. I think he's the only one that gets actually a name drop, even though, he didn't almost explode half of Japan. And also, we even get a little bit of a check-in with Lady Nagant after, she collapsed on the roof of the hospital building that she sniped from. And then we also cut over to All Might, who is now at a moderately safe distance from the actual battle going on between Bakugo and All for One. And also, Edshot is still hanging in there. He's a little strand of him is still there. And the big thing that they're talking about is, oh my God, they're so fast. And Edshot says, yes, when facing death, just for a moment, that boy's moves had even Shigaraki flustered. He seems to be on the grasp of the verge of grasping something essential. And Bakugo, consciously thinking about something, which is that he has to make use of a side effect. All for One, mad disrespect, looks up at the giant explodey boy who, blew off both of his arms and denied him the kill on All Might, and is like, nah, if you deal with you later, I can afford to ignore you. Yeah, it's fine.
You're nothing to me.
We also check in briefly on the fight going on between Deku and Shigaraki. Deku is trying to utilize like the black whips and stuff to ensnare Shigaraki, but he can just disintegrate everything, so it's not working. And Deku is thinking about how he's not really doing too well in this battle. He's barely managing to use his spider sense to keep himself alive. And he also realizes that the next time that he uses the second incarnation's gear shift, that's going to be the last time that he can actually use it. And the blowback's going to leave him immobilized. And it doesn't matter how hard he uses it or if he does it in a small burst, he can't control that's going to happen after he uses it the next time. And so we get a big 2 pages dedicated. It's not a 2-page spread, but 2 pages dedicated to these 4 combatants all preparing for their big moves as they're all trying to push themselves beyond their limits. And something happens. I believe what happens based on the follow-up panel is that All for One is using, a bunch of bullshit quirks to blast himself through where Bakugo is and go past him.
Yeah, he's doing like a supersonic kind of flying thing. So he smashes up like a whole bunch of buildings as he crashes through. He's just like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go get over to Shigaraki now, basically.
Yeah. So All for One is reflecting on the fact that, like, okay, look, this guy, yeah, he hit me, but Endeavor hit me way harder, and that Dark Shadow hit me way harder. So I could just ignore him. He doesn't measure up to All Might. He's not worth advancing my rewound state. He's pointless. Our fates are not entwined. Starting to think that All for One might be a bit of an idiot.
Nick, maybe he's losing it. I'm starting to think All for One maybe he's losing it. He's going a little mad.
Bakugo calls All for One a filler character, which is...
I love that. I was like, I love that we have these 2 people who have the most grating personalities, but one is one you're like, oh yeah, go Bakugo, woo! And the other one you're like, shut up about this Demon King shit. You suck.
And Bakugo, his side effect that he's referring to is, boy, does it actually hurt to have my sweat explode. Which, I don't know, has never affected him before. But he realizes that as pain jolts through his body from the beads of sweat stored on his palms, the pain as they explode, he can feel backup blasts going off as well. And he started to figure out the timing of them. And so he utilizes this to use a chain of mini explosions to catch up with All for One. Although he admits, wow, that's really fast. And also, so, because, he just had to have his heart stitched back together. And he's setting off explosions all over his body.
Also, he's probably just going too fast for him to even like direct himself. Like he's reaching like a new pinnacle of speed, so he just goes so fast he just sort of eats shit for a second.
I think he might bounce off the ground as they're going along.
It looks like he just hits the ground, at one point, and he just rolls along it at one point. It looks like as well.
So All for One's like, what the hell's wrong with him? Screw, what is this? And but Bakugo was just thinking, like he's been trying to catch up with Deku ever since Deku got his quirk, but now he feels like I could overtake you right now. And as he comes off the ground and while he's like still spinning from impacting against it, he starts taking an offensive stance, ready to blast something out. And we cut to one of the shelters, and his mom is watching, and she says to his dad, "Look, it's Katsuki." And he's like, "No, I can't look," because he doesn't want to see their son get fucking massacred. And Bakugo's mother says, "No, you gotta watch, because I know that boy of ours, and he's grinning the way he always does, grinning like a madman, like you do."
Yep.
And All For One is just like, "What is it about this insignificant pebble that vexes me even more than All Might does?" And it has something to do with, he sets off explosions and moves really fast and blew my arms off, because All For One doesn't live in this reality.
No.
He's like, the resemblance. He reminds me of him. It was always him. The hatred I harbor brings back the memories so vividly. If only he hadn't reached out like that. The one I loathe above all others. It's referring to one of the incarnations, the second, the guy who reached out to his little brother, because their hair is kind of similar, I guess.
Yeah, he looks a little bit like presumably what Bakugo would start to look like as an adult. The resemblance isn't like a 1-for-1. I think it would be obnoxious if it was. But yeah, there's enough that you're like, you can see why he sees it. And he is frustrated. He is seeing this guy that is so close to him. Like, and captures this specific part of his brain that's just like, you, if you hadn't fucking reached out to my brother, none of this would be happening. I would be the Demon Lord.
Fuck you for exploiting a flaw in a quirk that I created because of my own hubris.
Yeah.
And so Bakugo sets off the explosion, blasts All For One into a wall. And when All For One gets up, he's like, "You're to blame for it all, Kudo," because he's, very mentally sound. And Katsuki says, "Oh, have you finally gone senile? That's Kachan Bakugo to you, you crazy moron."
Isn't Kachan Deku's nickname for him?
The nickname that he's always hated.
Yeah, it's very cute. I like this chapter a lot. We continue to get sort of like a world's tour of like sweet ass Bakugo moments. I really, really like the fact that he's like finally figured out how to like control this speed, and he's so fast, and like he rolls across the ground. It's too powerful. But just the panel of him like in air rolling past a window, and his arms are now. It's like it's such a cool position. It looks really awesome. The idea.
It looks bullet timey.
Yeah. The idea that explosion would send All For One fucking flying is great. And I like that All For One is justified, or not justified, is rationalizing his hatred of this person. He's like, "Why do you bother me so much? Why?" And it's like, "Oh, because you remind me of this person who fucked my whole system up before." Like, I'm annoyed in this way. You remind me too much of the second. And this is super satisfying. I guess we should also, kind of note like Deku's kind of like, "All right, I'm gonna activate the quirk that I can only activate one more time, and after that, I can't. It's not only that I can't use that quirk anymore. I'm basically gonna be done for." So we're gonna be in for, I imagine, a false finish to that. I can't imagine it's gonna end right here. But I think we're in like a really cool position in both fights. I love that, pseudo 2-page spread of the 4 combatants kind of getting ready. I think this was a really effective chapter.
Yeah, this was fun. Who knew to make My Hero Academia fun, we just needed Bakugo again. A lot of people knew that. He's a very popular character.
He is. I mean, some would say it helps that we've pushed through a lot of stuff, and now we're kind of in a direct kind of line, I think, towards the end. We've settled a dozen or so extra character arcs and plot threads and beats. So now we can just kind of focus on this final conclusion. I think it's pretty satisfying.
Honed in on the main stuff now, yeah. All right, Quinn, let's move in on Undead Unluck.
Yeah, let's talk about Undead Unluck, Nick, number 183. The three of us. Just the three of us. That's right. There's a song for every title this week.
That's right. That's the name of the song. Now.
So, Nick, we're at a wedding. It's
I completely forgot about this. Like when it started happening, I was like, "What's going on?" And then I realized, like, "Oh, right."
We are at Layla and Latla's place, which is like a very fancy castle mansion kind of thing out in the middle of nowhere at a fancy party, and we are very immediately thrust into a very interesting situation as one patron or one guest asks, "I wonder who Dr. Rip will choose," and another woman's like, "What do you mean? He's picking Layla, right?" And they're like, "Oh, well, I don't know. He's either fond for Miss Latla." And I'm like, "So you all have attended a wedding where you do not know who the bride is?"
Which, I mean, does indicate that they had a fairly good list of priorities, which is like, look, we're going to get married, but we've got to go do world saving stuff immediately afterwards. So everyone's invited. It's like,
yeah, just show up.
Do you have do you want to give us like formal invitation? Just show up at our mansion. Just come, just bring stuff. Wait, who's the bride?
We do see that there's like a little bit of a conversation to people being like, "Oh, well, he's rather close, but in my opinion, blah 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 blah." And we see Gina's just kind of looking all a little forlorn, like, "Oh, I see. He has to choose, doesn't he, between one or the other?" And we cut inside of the castle.
Not projecting at all.
Nope. Where Rip has to get ready, or Rip is getting ready, I should say, with Fuko. And he's just like, "Oh, yeah." So she's basically telling him everything that happened a little bit during this past loop. It's not clear if she gave the exact details. She's kind of mentioned before she wasn't going to give any, like, super specific stuff until everyone decided if they wanted to use the memory artifact or not. But he is mentioning, like, "Oh, I guess that was a problem for you guys in this last loop. I guess that explains why Andy and you have felt so familiar when we met you." And then
I just say it's weird to see Rip looking so happy all the time.
It's a strange feeling. I thought maybe it was the eye patch, but apparently it's just that he's smiling without like a glare.
The first time I saw this, partially because of Fuko's attire, because she's got like a hair bun kind of thing. I thought she was talking with Shen because he's there, tall, handsome looking, light-haired guys who are smiling all the time now.
So Rip basically says, like, "Hey, you're actually a lot like Andy, And she's like, "Wait, me? A lot like Andy?" He's like, "Yeah, because of how off the wall you guys are. You're both kind of crazy." And he gets in like a little close and he's like, "I mean, like, look at the way you guys fought. It was outrageous." And I do love Fuko's a little bit when she like puts her hand up and she's like, "Don't get too close or you'll set off Unluck." But he's just like, "Yeah, it was crazy. Like, this guy this guy showed up against a guy we were all struggling with, and he just fought him. Like, that's crazy. And then a comet came and took out the meteorite, and that was you. And this guy made this clone of himself, and just to carry out a promise, that's crazy. And you learned how to do surgery. Like, this is really something else. You guys have this incredible teamwork. You've got a fine romance on your hands." Aww. And Fuko's like, "Yes." And Rip's like, "It's almost time. Better head out." And she's like, "Oh, hey, what's your decision?" And Rip says, "Oh, check it out." And he opens his shirt to show her his badges that he's collected. He's like, "I got about 6 gym badges. I'm still trying to get my way to Cinnabar Island." But we don't see what's in there. We just see him give a little peace sign, and then he speaks in French to us and says, "We only love heartily but once, and that is the first time we love." He says, "I am a lucky man." Fuko just says, "I should have known. That idea is sick. Wicked sick."
Before we move on to the rest of the chapter, I just want to say that I think that it's very sweet that Rip does not know Andy. Like
Yes.
the encounter that they've had was very, very brief. But even despite that, he understands the nature of Andy and Fuko's relationship. So it's like, oh, that's like he's really connected with these guys in this universe on a very deep level, despite having known them for so little time.
Yeah.
That he's able to spot that, and it's just a sweet little moment.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry. We see Layla, and she's in a wedding dress. So everyone is like, okay.
Yes,
and
that's it.
and she's standing with her father. Everyone's like, yes, this is it. But Gina's still crying. And I'm like, what are you crying for? And she's like, well, it's just that I'm sure Miss Lotla cared a lot about, Rip. And I know it's not possible, but I just wish everyone could be happy. Layla's dad is just like, is he not ready yet? And Layla's like, calm down, Dad. It's okay.
I'm Albert Einstein.
Yeah. Und I want off Mr. Rip uns ready yet. But Layla...
Just the worst German.
Ook bin Lieden. Layla just says, don't worry. This was the day Sis told us before she got on Trust. So this is going to be the happiest day of our life. And Rip has showed up, but Latla is there too. And they're in their like fused boot thing. As Latla is screaming, let me go! Damn it, Fuko, you're in on this. And everyone's like, oh my god, what's happening? Miss Latla's in a wedding dress. What's going on? And her dad's like, wait a minute. This means there's not one bride, but two. And at that moment, their feet like unfuse as Rip announces to everyone, the three of us will be getting married. And Latla just screams. She's like, ow. We get a series of everyone looking shocked. Their father is like fainting. He's like, oh, both of my girls on the same day to be brides.
He's like okay with it.
He's
too.
like, what am I to do? And Latla's like, wait, no one told me about this. And
This is such a funny detail.
yeah. And she's like, he's like, well, you say that, but you sure came out in a wedding dress. She's like, no, I was set up. I forgot to get a dress. I talked to Ichiga, or Ichigo. I always forget if it's
Ichiko.
Ichiko. And she's like, oh, I have a dress for you. And it's like a really normal dress. She's like, oh, okay, fine. It's nothing flashy. The spotlight will still be on my sister. And then like in a moment, it like poofs. And it's suddenly the white dress. And she's like, the colors changed. It got more frills. The corset locked so I can't take it off. And she's like, you clearly set me up. You did this. And Rip's like, oh, I asked them to. It was the only way. And Lala is legitimately very angry in this moment. She's like, don't you understand how this looks? You're trying to bag the sister of the woman you're marrying. You're a scumbag who can't pick one woman to love. That's how it comes off to everyone. You're making a scene. You should know better. Why would you do this? Why are you always worrying about me? And Rip just says, it's because I love you. To both of you. And he sort of sits down on the ground as they're kind of both kneeling at this point, and he says, I just kind of always wanted the three of us to be together for the longest time. I figured that was like the most natural thing. But you've been kind of keeping your distance from us, or more importantly from Layla, probably because she was sick. But she's not anymore. She's all better. These guys have cured her, so we can do what we want. We're free to choose what makes us the happiest. And I know that this is considered taboo. He says that. He's like, this is a strange thing. I understand that. But if this means getting the happy ending like not letting the happy ending I want slip away, then I'd rather just refute and negate that rule. And he presents 2 wedding rings. One for each of them.
So of course that's why he only had to just like flash what he had in his jacket to Fuko, and she immediately understood.
Yeah.
So
he says, there's nothing weird about this.
Not nothing weird. It's unusual. That's all I'll say.
He says things will be the same as they've always been. Let's all 3 of us laugh and smile together forever. That would be the pinnacle for happiness for us, wouldn't it? Both sisters say yes, sure. Latlo's like, you're gonna regret this. This is not gonna go as well for you as you think, maybe. And then they're like, all right, Fuko. Rip sort of calls out to her, and they're like, oh, it's because of you guys that we're able to do it, so let me join the union. And Latla's like, don't you mean let us join? And she's, staying alongside. And I guess Layla, too. I'm like, cool. I guess you'll be a huge asset to Union. I don't know what you do. You could have a very impressive resume. To have an ability. Your entire personality has been, I've been a sick person my entire life. You could be like a whiz with numbers or something. I don't know. But Fuko's like, yep, that's all right. You're all welcome. So we handled that. And then Rip's like, all right, well, what are we going to do next? And Nico comes in and is like, well, I think the next order of business is to try to make a plan on how to deal with these rules that we saw. Like, we fought the 10th of them and we got smoked. So we're going to need him. We need to rescue Undead because his powers of combat are just higher than everyone else right now. So maybe what we'll do is try to capture one of the 10 rules next and try to, like, extract information from him. And Fuko's like, no, we could do this in a smarter way. We just have to go ask Andy himself. We already know where he is. And I do like this because Nika's like, but we know where he is, yes. It's the sun.
The sun.
And Fuko just says, unburn. The one who negates an object's ability to burn and combust. With him on our side, we can land on the sun. So with that, all of Union will be tracking him. Let's start Operation Rescue Andy. And we end the chapter with Rip basically being like, I could be a little wild, but you guys are really out there. Nick, let me tell you, the hollering I did when I read Unburn and they're like, we are going to use him to negate the sun. I was like, yes! Yeah! I was that maybe just screaming. I was doing the yes chants in the face. I love this so much.
Yeah, we can't do it on the stream or in the recording for copyright reasons, but just know that the theme of this arc of Undead Unluck is going to be Smash Mouth constantly. Don't delay, act now. Supplies are running out. And yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy enough that, yes, it does briefly somehow overtake the fact that the love triangle between Rip, Layla, and Latla was resolved with just the polyamory ending, which I did not think that it would actually happen, and it did. And all right.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a totally cool ending. I think it's actually extremely cool that he just kind of notes it as like, fuck this rule, let's negate it. Like, that's the entire philosophy right now. There should not be standards necessarily or unspoken rules to have to follow. He loves both exactly. I understand it could be a little strange because they're both sisters, but there are levels. Polyamory doesn't have to mean you have to be involved with each person. That's not exactly how it works. So if everyone in this is a happy, participant, then I think this is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And it's different from like a lot of the things that we see whenever that type of relationship gets explored, particularly in like shonen manga or manga, I guess, directed towards guys, which involve a very wish fulfillment thing of like, oh, I get all the hot girls. It's very like, a lot of one-way relations involved in it. Whereas with this one, there's been a lot of emphasis on the three of them together as a family unit, and then a romantic family unit. So in this case, I think that this is a very sweet conclusion, and it's one of the few times I've seen it portrayed in fiction that feels like, I'm really happy for this, that this ended up happening. I think it's very sweet.
Yeah.
And I commend Undead Unluck for always being willing to just go for it. So
I do want to like pull back to your earlier thing, which was that I read this chapter and like I experienced the same thing. Where it was like, oh, this is a little shocking, and then like the Unburn reveal about walking on the sun came out, and I was like, holy shit. And so much so when I came back to this chapter, it's like, oh right, the wedding. Like I had forgotten what the rest of I'd forgotten what the vast majority of this situation was. But yeah, I do agree with you. This is a thing that has never really been handled with any kind of tact in my experience, at least not that I can think of immediately. There's like harem manga that I've had, like everybody wins endings and stuff like that, but like they never really felt like they got it. It felt like that was more of like a we don't want to piss off the groups of the characters that aren't chosen kind of thing.
Right.
Ninja's right. If this was a love triangle, Nick, does this become a one-sided triangle? To take us back 3 months ago?
No, it does not.
I think so. This is the one-sided triangle is finally here.
No, if it's a one-sided triangle, then that means it is a worse version of this, where it's male-centric, and they're just a single point.
That's the way to refute this, Nick. You fight against the patriarchy.
That's right.
There we go. All right. This is a fun chapter, though. I really enjoyed it. I'm super excited for Unburn. Let's go see Engine again. Let's see this guy, and I don't know. It's just very cool. I like this is a character. I was like, I wonder how you do this in an interesting way, because like, you know, we're reaching a point where like the only characters left to like gather up are like Juez, Top, Tatiana, like major characters. And then you're like, oh yeah, there's also like Engine and Bunny. And I was like, I don't know how you do that, especially as things escalate so high. Saying that this dude can help them land on the sun is absolutely a way to make it happen.
Based on the way Gina reacts to this event, it does make you wonder, like, so are a bunch of members of Union going to realize that polyamory exists? How's that going to affect them?
How wild would that be if, like, at the end of this, Gina's like, wait, we could all just date Andy. And we could all just date Fuko. This is perfect.
Oh, all right. Okay, anyway, moving on to Blue Box. Chapter 125. You know what that means.
You know what that means.
The chapter's titled, you know what that means. I'm not making up. Anyway, so last time, a friend of, Akari's, got it. I got it. I didn't fumble it. It's okay. She and Akari approach Taiki, and the friend just flat out says, like, hey, are you seeing anyone right now? And because, he's like, yeah, she says, it feels like since we started high school, everyone has kind of found that special someone. So I was just wondering if you had anyone. Just kind of tries to play it off cool, while very much just trying to
like scope for your friend.
Right. And Taiki just says very calmly, sorry, I can't tell you. Doesn't freak out about it, just handles it very diplomatically. And then some of his friends like, hey, we're heading out, and so he has to go with them. He's like, all right, yeah, good luck, go with you all your competition stuff, guys. Akari's friend says to her as he goes off, if he says he can't tell us, you know what that means. I feel like you could interpret it a couple of ways. Like,
I mean, I think the way you would read it is if you say, sorry, I can't tell you. The way I would say it is he can't tell us because there is somebody, but he's not saying it. Because if it was the answer was no, I feel like you would just say no.
Most people wouldn't play coy about if they weren't.
Yeah, there's no one you're trying to protect if it's just yourself, essentially.
They're having a scavenger hunt, and Kyo is one of the representatives for the red team. So Hina and oh gosh, I've forgotten her name. Oh no,
Hina and Ayame. No,
Ayame. It is Ayame. So they're on the cheer team and like, yeah, do it, and Ayame is very specifically singling out Kyo and just like, if you don't win, I'm going to make you let me copy your homework and all the English assignments during the break. Matsuoka pops up nearby her after that very specific threat. And he's like, oh, hey, how you doing? And she says, oh, we can't be seen together because there's been like rumors about it circulating since Valentine's Day. And Matsuoka just says, oh yeah? Why are you grinning? Well, it's just rumors. Yeah, but And he says, well, look, as long as we don't care, it doesn't affect us. So, they can say whatever. Unless you have a thing for me. No, I don't. Nope, I do not. But he laughs it off. He's clearly very comfortable around her, and it's nice to see this kind of bond has formed between them, this very friendly bond. And Ayame says, like, and she starts to hesitate, and Matsuoka realizes what's going on in her head, and he says, oh, is it that you're wanting to make sure that someone doesn't get the wrong idea?
I love how this cast has expanded in such a way in the relationship. Like, this is an entire plot line. An entire plot line with multiple characters does not involve Taiki or Chinatsu whatsoever.
Yeah.
The main couple is completely separate from this, and there's like a super compelling narrative without them. It's so good.
Yeah. And at that moment, before Ayame can really think up a response, Kyo comes up and says, oh, manager, come with me. Kyo! That's where it happens every time he walks up behind you. He can never sneak up on anyone because you just hear Kyo. So he comes up and grabs her by the wrist. Is like, hey, manager, come with me. And suddenly drags her off. And she's like, what's happening? What? And Kyo just says, like, you said I had to get first place, remember? And Ayame realizes, like, oh, I'm being taken for something for the scavenger hunt. What was the prompt that he had to get someone for? Hina was right next to me. And she tries to dismiss it in her head, even as she's still being dragged off by the wrist. And she's like, it's probably something silly anyway. Ah, girl. It looks like they get a point because the red team's the first one to actually have an answer for this, which is someone with pigtails. And Ayame, hears that, and she's clearly kind of disappointed. She's like, I knew it. But she tries to kind of play it up because she's like, I figured it would be too much if you had chosen me for a girl who's super cute, sophisticated, elegant, and lovely.
Yeah. She had a very elaborate idea of what it was for a moment.
Yeah. And she's like, if you needed someone with two updos, then Hina was right there. And Kyo says, you're right, but you have your hair in pigtails, which is just what I needed. There's something very, like, interesting about that line that did grab me when I first read it.
I think it's which is just what I needed part. The idea of saying you were just what I needed. Even though in his mind it's a very clinical thing. He's like, I understand. I probably could have argued that the two like buns are basically like a pigtail. He's like, you have pigtails. It's just what I needed. And that's why she has like a bit of a quizzical expression, but I feel like it also hit her that same way as well.
Yeah. She's been hit by it, but also she doesn't know how to feel about it because then she's like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
You don't need to know. So and then we cut from there. Later on, Haruto approaches Kyo and he says, Kyo senpai. And he's like, where's Taiki senpai? And everyone gathered there is just like, oh, Taiki had something to do and he's eating elsewhere because everyone's kind of having a midday lunch break right now. And Haruto's like, oh yeah, well, I got all these sweets from some upperclassmen I don't know. So I thought I would share them. But he just kind of looks around and, knowing that Taiki's not there, he's like, oh, he sure is a busy guy. And of course, Taiki has gone to meet up with Chinatsu. They're going to meet up in the storage room that they had like one of their first meals together at. And so they sit down to eat. And they talk about the competition for a little bit, how Chinatsu's team is leading by a little while. And she's like really fired up. She gets competitive. She's like, we're not going to lose in the final relay. She's really intense about this. And then she brings up, so the girls in our class swap headbands with their boyfriends. And Taiki says, oh yeah, you can't do that between the red and blue teams. And she says, yeah, that's true. If we were on the same team, I could, cheer for you.
Aww.
Taiki thinks about it for a minute, and then he says, look, I know what we agreed about before, but it's okay if people find out that we're dating, because it's been a while that we've been dating. But Chinatsu brings up, like, but if a bunch of people find out about school, then someone at home's gonna find out about it. She imagines Taiki's mother getting really pissed off about it. But Taiki says,
does Taiki have a sibling?
I don't think he does.
I don't know why. For a moment, I was like, does he have a younger sibling, or have I just conjured that out of my imagination?
I think you have.
Okay.
But he says, like, like, if my family finds out, they're my family, so they'd probably get mad at me if they got mad at anyone. I don't think it'd be that bad. But Chinatsu is clearly worried about what her own parents would think about the situation. She doesn't really voice that in this moment because something happens. Some people are outside and they're looking for a piece of equipment for an extension cord reel. And so they go towards the storage closet where Taiki and Chinatsu are eating in secret. Ooh, their secret rendezvous is going to be intruded upon. Gasp!
I feel like this is the this is not a red herring. This is going to be like a little twist or something. But I do feel like setting up Haru to be looking for Taiki means Haru will find them.
Could be the case. Sense. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple interactions. It would be nice to see someone who knows that there are a couple interacting with the two of them, because that's something we really haven't seen up to this point.
We've gotten a couple characters interact with one side of the couple who know they're Karen and Chinatsu, for example, and stuff like that. But it would be interesting to see someone have to actually see them and interact with them.
Right, as while they're being a couple out somewhere. Maybe that's going to be the case here. But yeah, just another cute chapter of Blue Box. I really like the stuff between Kyo and Ayame, and how in denial about how self-conscious she is that she's being. It's very sweet, and also some nice cute moments.
All right, Nick. Vroom, vroom.
It's Chainsaw Man, chapter 148, room 606, sword. So, it's such a stupid thing that they have to do at the beginning of this chapter. Just some guy, some asshole has pointed out Denji and it's like, he's a wannabe Chainsaw Man. And some other people in the crowd are like, what, he is? Are you sure? And Denji's like, I'm not one of them. And the guy's like, you don't fool me. You can turn at any moment. I know one when I see one. Disrespectful kids like you all turn into pseudo Chainsaw Men. I knows it. I have always known it, even though it's only just happened 5 minutes ago for the first time. So, very realistic portrayal of a human being.
Yes, this is one of the most accurate portrayals of humans I've seen recently. Just pure paranoia and fucking idiocy in 3 seconds.
So, people are trying to say, like, it's fine. Look, hang on. What's her name? The bodyguard. I can't remember her name. She's been around for so long. I need to remember her name.
I fortunately do not remember her name.
It's very important. People are going to be mad at me if I don't know the name of the new
Blowjob girl.
Devil Hunters. Okay. So she says, like, look, we're with the fucking public safety Devil Hunters. I've got proof of this right here. And one of them's like, we saw a public safety agent turn into one of them too.
Fujiko is what people are saying.
Eventually they say, like, look, kid, why don't you just, like, show us your chest and then we'll just move on. And of course, Denji's got the real fucking thing on his chest, so that's not going to help them. Oh, boy. It's Fumiko. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, they demand this. Quan Chi sees how this is gonna go, and she just says, "Run." One of the devil hunters that's also there takes out his gun and aims a shot at them, and Quan Chi just lashes her hand out and lets the bullet hit her wrist and stops it. And at that moment, Fumiko turns to look at what's just happened, and Quan Chi just says, "Run" again, and Fumiko looks really upset but runs off anyway.
I'm not sure how to
A
process
ship has
that.
emerged.
Is that what you? Okay, I'm on board with that. If that's
She
what's
looked
going on.
worried about her.
Yeah, this is a hard scene to process because she does look very concerned, but also you're just like, well, she's not really hurt. Like, you saw this woman jump from a fucking building and crush, like, explode her legs and then pop back up. So she's not. I guess I could just understand the idea of, like, being concerned, even if there's someone's invulnerable. You're like, I just don't want to see them hurt or in pain or whatever. So I guess it's that, but otherwise, I'm still trying to figure out where, like, the concern and tension is, because I'm like, now that we know the situation's gone foobar, then Quan Chi could just fucking rotisserie these guys in a second. They just fucking dice and slice them.
She could just kind of like Big Brother them and just kind of push them away.
Just squeezes the top of their head until they're like, I'm going to bed.
Meanwhile, Yoshida had attacked Asa in her home, and as she was trying to transform her apartment into a weapon, chopped her arm off. And now they're both shocked because Asa, in response to a killing blow coming towards her head, had raised her hand up and stopped the blade. And it hurt a little bit.
Interesting.
So Yoshida tries to finish things off with Octopus, but Asa declares again, room 606 sword, and the entire room disappears around them. She's
very cool.
Wrapped up in the tentacle, but like they're like out in the open because all the walls, the ceiling, everything are gone, and you can like see into the structure of the next floor up. And she's got the sword, so immediately the octopus is cut in half as Yoru emerges, and she's got Asa's entire room as a sword now. Like, there's so much going on with it. I can't even tell what any part of it is.
Yeah, there's like a propeller at a portion of it, and like piping, all sorts of stuff going on here. Like a grate, maybe. It's really cool to look at. I'd love like just like a more visually distinct look at the weapon, but it is a really cool moment.
And Yoru is really hyped up. She's like, ha! We turned into a weapon without even touching it. Incredible! Our power is increasing! And Yoshida takes a fighting stance against her and then runs away.
Yeah. This was actually one of the more confusing bits here.
Yes.
I think what happens is Yoru tries to attack, and she just has so much power in this sword that it sends her flying. It reads a little easier now. The first time I read it, I had zero idea what was happening. I thought Yoshida had like knocked her back, but I guess it's just that this sword is so powerful, like it had like an engine or speed picked up or something like that. She crashes into a wall.
We don't see the precursor to the attack. We just see her speed lines as she impacts the wall behind Yoshida and her then ending up in the wall. So yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, like, oh, she attacked him and ended up just over there. And she just mentions like, oh, this might take some adjustments because she missed. And immediately Yoshida's just gone. He's like, nope, this is not hanging around here.
Fuck this.
So Yoru somersaults out of the building. She's still missing an arm, but she does not give a shit. She sees that everything is on fire when she reaches street level, and she starts laughing gleefully and says, "The world remembers me at long last."
Very, very cool.
Yep. So Yoru is very strong now, it seems, or at least she has access to some very powerful weapons thanks to Asa. And possibly some other stuff is going on. There was some speculation in the chat, I know, about exactly what happened with the sword coming. Is like, as in, is Yoru correct that they don't need to touch stuff they make into a weapon? Or is it because her arm got chopped off, so technically she was touching the floor?
Yeah, now she's touching the floor now. Right. Yeah, I don't exactly know. I will say that the ending is very, very funny. I do love you're walking downstairs as the world's fucking exploded into chaos in the last 10 minutes, and her just being like, ah, yes, you finally greet me. War, excellent. I think that's just a very funny idea for her to be super excited about, but also I think a level of this might just be because things have descended into chaos and there's so much fighting that she is stronger as the war devil. More people are fearing war as a result, so her power is growing. That also might explain why she was able to just block Yoshida's sword with her hand.
Right.
So cool stuff there. Cool stuff. That's all I'll say, I guess.
Yep. Kaiju number 8, chapter 97. Last time, Kaiju number 9 emerged through a portal from the body of Kaiju number 15 right in front of Mina, declaring her as his target. So she has the power to destroy really powerful Kaiju. And everyone is shocked that this has happened, and Kaiju number 9 points at Mina, and everyone's reacting to this. Kafka immediately yells out, Mina, and starts running off. Everyone tries to make it there, and Kafka reflects on it's just like with the general director Isao, and he of course has known Mina for their entire lives, and so he knows that oh shit, she's in really big trouble right now, and he knows what has happened to Isao. He's like, I'm not going to let that happen. But Kaiju number 9 says, number 8, you'll never make it here, and all of a sudden, a whole ton of new kaiju readings start popping up everywhere as a whole ton of bodies just show up all over Tokyo. Unidentified kaiju that are all taller than buildings. And everyone's like, shit, these things are all forward to level 8. These are all Daikaiju class, and there's a ton of them. Not super specialized kaiju like the previous ones, but there's a ton of them, and everyone has already exhausted themselves at their limit dealing with the previous wave of enemies. And there's some random guys like, oh no, we're screwed. But Kafka thinks about the promise that he made with Mina, that he would be there by her side. And how she took solace in that, thinking that as long as they were together, it wouldn't be that scary. And Kafka just says, Mina's over there. I have to get to her. So out of my way. One of the kaijus blasts him with a Sero, and all the others start launching stuff too, and explosions pop up everywhere. And that is where we end our chapter.
So things look bad. I mean, this seems like a really rough situation. I really don't know how they get out of this. Not just how do they get to Mina in time, but just everyone is kind of pushed back. We see every sort of significant character here is kind of drained. They all went through very, very difficult fights. What are they going to do? But I think what we're going to follow right now is definitely Kafka kind of trying to fight his way to her. And I'm kind of intrigued to see that. We will see more. Things look bad right now, though.
Yep.
That is true. We haven't seen Reno. That is true.
Yeah, we haven't seen every important character so far. There might be someone who can come in and have a big hero moment in this still.
All right, Nick, let's get those peanuts.
Spy Family Mission 90. Anya and Yor are taking Bon for a walk. And Anya says she wants to go to the park with the big obstacle course. So they go to the park with the big obstacle course. She starts playing on the playground and stuff. But she hears some kids nearby talking about an old man sitting on a bench near there. And they're like, oh, doesn't he creep you out? Oh, yeah. And they start even saying, it's like, you know what people say, when someone's acting strange, they could be an enemy spy, and you've got to report them because he could just be, waiting for his contact, just sitting there all day. Old man feeding the pigeons. So Anna hears all this and thinks to herself, ooh, a spy. If he's a bad guy spy, I got to take him down. So I'll read his mind and expose his secret plan. And she reads his mind, and he's just thinking, I want to go home. I want to go home. but I can't because I'm lost. And Anya's disappointed, I think, or some of the guys start, saying like, "Hey, what are you doing here? You're a spy!" And so the man gets upset and he runs off. So like, "Ha ha! We saved the country, stupid kids." And so Anya is like, "I'm out on an adventure." Goes playing on the playground. She's 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I actually kind of appreciate that she wasn't immediately like, "Oh, these mean boys are being mean to this old man." She is a child who's like, "I want to go on a swing. I want to go on a jungle gym."
Yeah.
It's only once the situation kind of more directly starts to evolve her, she's like, "Okay, let me do the right thing."
The old man shows up at the playground and like climbs the steps on the jungle gym, like they're the steps to his home, and he starts calling out, "Barbara, dear, I'm home. Oh, she must be upstairs." And he like almost slips and falls on those kind of like suspended log things that make up, like children's bridges. And they're like, "Who put this trap on the second floor?" And then he realizes like, "What? Who are you? Where am I?" And Yor finally comes over, and she gets the situation and everything. And she's like, "Oh, do you remember your address?" And the man says, "Oh, we just moved today." He mumbles, and he looks up into the sky, and he's like, "Dear, I hope you can forgive me for rotting away in this park and leaving you all alone."
It's so sad. He looks to the sky as though he's saying goodbye to her spirit. Like, "I hope you can forgive this old man." It's like, "Stop this! Get him home!"
So Yor starts, patiently saying like, "Do you remember like any clues, any landmarks near your home?" And Anya's like, "I'll just read his mind." And of course that doesn't help. He doesn't know the address. He's just like, "My home is nice and warm.
Yeah.
I want to go home and watch TV."
He's very sweet. He does not. His brain is not operating on the way that Anya can understand right now.
So yeah, he just says that his memory hasn't been very good recently. So they're like, "Okay, do you have anything like on your person that could help you?" And the man reaches into his pocket, and it's a note says like, vegetables and stuff on it. He's like, "Oh, I was going to do shopping at the market." So Yor says, "Okay, well, maybe if we go this way to the nearest marketplace, then maybe that'll jog your memory." And she does apologize to Anya, saying like, "Okay, we're going to escort this man where he needs to go, so we've got to leave the playground." And Anya's disappointed and stuff. And the man thinks, "Oh, sorry, I'll find a way to repay you. Maybe there's something I can give her. We don't have food in the fridge. Did I bring my wallet? Maybe I could add them to my will." And I says, "He says if we take him home, he'll add us to his will and give us lots of money." So Anya is now excited because she's been promised money in her mind.
I like it because it's not even subtle. Like the next scene, she's like, "We're gonna be gajillionaires."
And Yor's like, "No." They take him to the marketplace. The man just observes like how the area has changed a lot. So Yor asks him like, "Oh, did you used to live here?" And the man says, "I used to teach at the university, I think." Doesn't even know that. But he does talk about how, like the district has changed and how it used to be full of like orphan children. Everyone's eyes were on the skies, watching for the next bomb, or on the ground, searching for anything of value. Not a single soul would be out just walking the streets. Ooh. He's just kind of like mumbling to himself while thinking like random thoughts, including like, it's like, "I've got to walk looking down so I don't step in dog poo." And he's like, "Now he's saying stuff about poo."
Poo.
They come to a fountain nearby, and the man thinks it's a shower briefly, and they're like, "No, it's not a shower." And then they keep on going, and they go back to the park. They've just come in a complete circle. So then he thinks that he recognized another place. It turns out that it's actually a mafia's hideout somehow. So Yor has to take them both to safety really quickly. Then the old man thinks that he he smells his wife's favorite flowers, so that must be the house. Oh, it's because it's a flower shop. Oh. And they keep on going around and around and around, and having to remind him, like, I'm not your wife, sir. I'm not your wife. You know, this isn't your home. And eventually, he gets really, depressed and says, like, I'm not used to being around anyone. I'm just a senile old man. I'm sorry. And Anya says, I'm having a lot of fun. This has been a great adventure. So the man gives her a pat on the head and says, thank you for not making fun of an old man's failings.
It's very sweet.
Would you like a waffle? There's a little waffle shop.
He's such a sweet little old man. He's like, you're all being so kind to me. Can I get you a waffle, Nick? When I'm old, can I buy a child who's helping me a waffle?
Sure.
Wow. Waffle money in like 30 years? I don't know if I'm having that, Nick.
Okay. I do love this next panel when they go to get a waffle, because the man's, occasionally mumbling and Anya's translating, which is reading his mind and interpreting it how she sees fit. So she says, he says, I'm just like his adorable little granddaughter, and he wants to give me waffles and will will me his entire estate. He says he didn't actually say that. So he may not be all there, but he's also not all there.
Yeah.
So.
You can sometimes understand what's going on.
And seeing the old man and Anya spending time together, Yor thinks, my parents are gone. Lloyd's parents are gone. Anya's never experienced what it's like to have a grandparent. And I guess I never have either. But you can't miss what you've never known, so I can't say I was ever sad about it.
It's very, it's sad, but it's also, it starts off sweet that she's just like, oh, Anya's never experienced the affection of like a grandparent before. She's never had that, so this is very nice. And then it's her being like, also I haven't, but I'm an adult and I don't get to enjoy things. It's fine that I have nothing. And you're like, oh.
I think that's called societal generational trauma, the after effects of a war. The old man is going to his pocket, something falls out, and so they realize it's a coupon. Anya specifically realizes it's a winning ticket from a raffle that they hold at the candy shop, because of course she would have that fact memorized. It's very essential, important information. And the old man realizes, I went to the candy shop because I wanted sweets to eat on the way to the market. I went down to the candy shop. I'll lick you like a lollipop. I heard that song on the radio recently, Just like it reminded me of the way that I was as a young man. It reminds me of my barber. I lick her lollipop up and down. And they're like, sir, what do you... Stop. This is a child. My daughter is 6. Never too old to hear the classics. So they go to the candy shop, and Anya's like, we should use the coupon to get some candy, because of course she is. But Bond is there, and he recognizes something and follows the man's scent trail and leads them back to Yor and Anya's building. And at first, Yor's like, he wasn't following your scent, he was following our scent. But wouldn't you know it, just nearby, Barbara, the old man's wife, comes out the door and she says, Sigmund, what on earth have you been doing all this time? She's so nonplussed by everything. And he rushes over and gives her a big hug and says, what do you mean you're so glad to see me? You're supposed to be helping me move. They're moving into the fortress building. I didn't know this character's name is Sigmund. I believe we'll have to give him a different voice. Ach! There's great big problems for me to consider here. I finally found my way home. Oh, the uns und die Schweißen. A sprechen die taste. That's all the wrong verbs. So Lloyd has been helping them move in, and of course he's thinking himself while doing it, is like, it's important we establish good relationships with the neighbors for the sake of the mission. Like, come on, dude, calm down. So yeah, wouldn't you know it, Sigmund and Barbara are their neighbors. They're new neighbors that have come in, and Anya's calling them Grandpa Sigmund and Grandma Barbara, which is very cute. So they have just like exchange pleasantries and stuff. And Sigmund gives Barbara some flowers that he bought. It's very cute, and they're just like, "Oh, I love you." It's like, "Oh yeah, you think you're going to? I'm going to forgive you that easily? Just say you love me." It's like, it's so sweet. Two old people.
Yeah, and I love it that you just see like a whole bunch of kisses going on, and just Anya like kissy kissy. It's very cute.
And both Lloyd and you are really uncomfortable.
They're like, let's go back up to our room.
Let's go back up to our loveless, sexless house.
Hey, it's not loveless. I also like that Bond's just like sitting there very happy, like, no, this is being a dog, very cute. Look, I think this is very sweet. The idea that we're going to get kind of grandparent characters in here does feel like an advancement the story should have. You can have cute moments with these characters. We established that the Sigmund was a professor at one point in time, so there may be some connection to his character. And this can be an element that gets explored. But also just it's more room for like more family. Not everything has to be about the spy, Nick. Sometimes it's about the family.
Family. This chapter resonated a lot with me. Recently, my grandmother was diagnosed with a complete. No, I've forgotten the name of it, which is part of the symptoms that she's Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's, yeah.
Like to the point, like like family members, sometimes she struggles with their names.
Yeah.
Now, and it's been really like you hear about it, but to actually like see it firsthand with someone suffering under that, it's a trip. It's not cool.
Yeah.
It's and it's really hard to just kind of like wrap your brain around. It's like that this is happening to them. And this chapter dropped the day that I went to visit her at her where she lives now for the first time, which is an assisted living facility. So the fact that all happened on the same day really made me like, poof.
That's a heavy hit to have to take.
Yeah. And it was really nice to see this demonstration by like Anya and Yor of like having the patience to help this person. And sometimes like his forgetfulness is played for a little bit of laughs, but I do really like the moment of Anya just being like, "Oh, I'll just read his mind," and it's like, no, he doesn't know. He can't bring up the memory, so of course reading his mind is not going to help. I liked that just very blunt and plain like explanation of it, of how serious it is, and literally getting inside this mind's head and seeing how scary that can be.
Yeah.
Not knowing what's going on and just wanting to just go back home, and it being a very confusing and difficult thing, because you can't remember where you live, or you can't remember that you live in a new place now and stuff. And it's handled in the same way that Spy Family handles all of its stuff, which is in this generally very cute kind of manner when it comes to its humorous stuff. So it's not super heavy or anything. So it was nice to see it processed in a way that was optimistic and nice, and ended on the note of he does have this support system, and he's got this new support system too, of people that he's met that hopefully are going to continue to get along with him and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was just what I want to add to that.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that is a sentiment that a lot of people shared, and I think it is nice to see a level of respect shown to this that isn't just like, look at the silly old man, but more, you said, the patience. It's definitely appreciated, and it makes me look forward to seeing more of this character in the future. Now, I don't know how the easiest way to transition from what you just said to talk about Eden Zero, so here we are. Let's talk about Eden Zero, chapter 264, Override. I have forgotten much of what this chapter is about, so this is going to be, I guess, a partial live reading. I do not remember what happened. I know I read this chapter. I think it ends with like a couple pages in the flashback, but we open Laguna has defeated Lightning Law, of course, the Clash for the Ages. I'm just penciling in right now for my fight of the year. This is one that's really going to go down the history books. But Laguna is, of course, done. He's spent all of his energy. I've cleaned up all the messes for you, Shiki. We cut over to Shiki and Rebecca. They are now on foot because they reached a point where you can't take the ship anymore. Their little rider ship. Again, I have no idea how small the ship is. But they're like, we can't take it through any more of this hallways. But she's like, wow, I can't believe...
It looks like in a pinch they could fit the ship through the doorway that they've just opened up in front of it. So
yeah, absolutely. But Rebecca is just like, oh, Shiki, I can't believe you're crazy enough to try to take on the Eden's One alone. And he's like, funny thing for you to say, Mr. Girl or Mrs. Girl, who has a power that doesn't exist in this universe, but you use it anyway. But
we're not going to talk about the fact that she got naked in order to use it to help you.
Who cares? That's
the crazy part to me.
She has pants back on, so she's fine now.
No, I'm saying, why aren't they talking about
who cares, Nick? I assume this operates under the same philosophy of Natsu and Lucy, which was like, eventually he was like, we see you naked so often, it doesn't mean anything anymore. They see like a almost, I don't want to say shining star, but they see like, the energy signature of someone flying. And they're like, oh my gosh, that ether, that's really giving me the creep. That's only one thing then. Void. But where is he headed? And he's real upset. He seems determined. We cut over to Eden Zero. It's getting attacked by all these dragons. It's gonna explode in 7 minutes. We're gonna be done for. Do something, Hermit. She's like, I'm trying. Killer's like, you can't. My code is perfect. And she's like, I found it. Very entertaining. We watched her clack her fingers on a virtual keyboard for a while, and she's like, I figured it out. But there's a hang up, Nick. It'll take it over. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Eden Zero is not going to explode and kill them all. They will need an override key, though. And the only way to do that is to get the...
override.
Yeah, they need to get the voice commands of all 4 shining stars. So we come over to Sister, who at first I was like, I don't understand why Sister is in her underwear. And then I was like, you know what? I probably forgot it happened somewhere in the BDSM stuff that happened a couple chapters ago. So whatever. They're like, all right, I need the override key for everybody. I guess Sister does give the key, but Valkyrie and Witch, they specifically say they can't right now because they are fighting. They cannot give the authorization code while they are fighting. Basically, it'll distract them too much.
Sure.
So
sure.
Those fights are going on. Wise takes his shirt off, and yes. Hermit's like, "Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "Well, there's a user-friendly dive system in the hangar, right? I'm going to pop over to the digital world and punch that guy's lights out. And I pay him back for what he did in the last world." And I'm kind of sitting there, I'm like, did they establish you need to take your shirt off to do that? Is that a thing that was established? Why is your shirt off? Or are you just like, sometimes you just pop your top off, it happens.
Yeah, it could be that, ether gear. I don't know.
There you go. Perfect. Cut over to Witch. She's having her fight. Wizard is like, you will use your override key to force stop the ship. And Witch is like, I have no time. I'm going to throw this big ball of fire or something at you. And he blocks it and clash. There's like a 2-page panel and Wizard is like, but we're both robots created by the same person. Why do you side with the humans? And she's like, because Master Ziggy loved humans, and so do I. And he's like, no, humans must be destroyed. That's why we will destroy Mother. And she's like, no, we won't let you. And he's like, too late. Void is on his way to destroy Mother. And we see that shot of Void kind of flying through space. And it looks like we're headed that way. This feels very final.
Who's Void?
Void is the anonymous bad guy they've established. Is like he's sort of like the consciousness, I think, of the Eden's One, or the Eden's One that they established.
Oh right,
before.
one void. Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. He's a bad dude. We gotta stop this guy. Cut over flashback time 20,000 years ago. Bad things have happened, Nick.
Yes.
It's the world is in a bad place. There have been massive earthquakes and eruptions and meltdowns. This planet is pretty much done for. But this, there's like a news report that's like, everyone remain calm, spend your last moments with your loved ones. And then Ziggy shows up at the end to go, a dying planet. Ah!
Yeah. So, presumably this is all leading up to like, okay, and this is how it turned out that Ziggy designed the androids to look after after the people that he met in the scenario. But it really has just kind of felt like all the people that we've met in this timeline are just, the four shining stars, but in different clothes, because we've gotten to know them.
Don't forget, what is the doctor who surfs sometimes?
Two of them are engaged. Remember that much.
That was a big one. That was a big end of chapter reveal.
Because we hadn't actually ever really gotten to know them at all, it just kind of feels like, oh, we're going to tell the story of how he met the people that he designed the four shining stars after. Oh, how did that happen? Well, he met some people and designed the four shining stars after them. Like, it doesn't feel like this has been fleshed out in any way that seems significant, because we didn't spend any time actually getting to know these characters. It was just, here's the bare bones points of how we got to this point where the world was in this state, up to Ziggy showing up in order to encounter them. Now, things could take a turn from here, obviously. If there's a slightly longer flashback this time, maybe there are going to be slightly longer flashbacks where we're actually going to see maybe Ziggy get to know some of these people, and then, see what kind of effect they have on him in order to result in him creating the four shining stars and stuff. But feels like probably not. Obviously this is like a big deal too, because like this is the end of the world in terms of like, what led to Ziggy's big grand philosophy, or like, oh, we got to do all this stuff and we got to go with these extreme measures in order to preserve worlds and everything like that. But again, it feels like the important thing should be having made connections with the people that he's going to preserve or honor in this way, and we haven't. So
yeah, we spend so much time talking about this series that sucks, when there's better series that end up getting shortchanged. So I'm not going to add a lot to this. I really just want to say that I feel like I'm a little surprised. It feels like we're cutting closer to the end. I know Eden Zero is always kind of at a weird pace, but it really does feel like this might be the final arc. I think 3 of the Eration 6 have been handled at this point. All the other Dark Stars are in a fight. We already know that Cure sucks, so I guess we'll just reveal Lady Freya at some point so Homura can beat her up, or fucking somebody else. I don't know who. Jin, who knows? And then, let's wrap this up, basically. But we're moving towards the end, and this still sucks. So that's all I really want to say.
Cipher Academy, Chapter 48. One who is skilled in both actions and destruction. So we get an explanation of how Karigane has managed to get this big score over on Iroha and leave him in a vulnerable position. It is because she can read hands the same way that Iroha can read expressions. And she's like, even if, nothing is exposed, even just through like finger movements, a flick of her wrist, the hands speak to me just as much as the mouth, or perhaps even more. And so, okay, that's how she did it. It's a little bit like rushed, because we're immediately proceeding on to like, and this is how they deal with it. Like the build up to how you deal with it and stuff. There's just not like a lot of time used to actually build up Karigane's ability. It's just like, this is how I did it. Okay. So the first thing that happens is Iroha discards an almighty, a blank tile that can be used essentially as a wild card, and can be used in position for any of the symbols in the alphabet as they're playing this martial mahjong game. And Karigane is obviously, surprised by this, and so are all the onlookers and stuff. So they're like, why would they do that? And she thinks, although the Haku tiles are almighties, they're only treated the same as these types of tiles, which aren't needed for the Junshan meld. And immediately we start going into a lot of mahjong terms that Nick doesn't know.
Yeah,
so I'm going to skip them.
I think this is a great chapter for us to zoom through, because so much of this is like, they've assembled this complicated mahjong hand. Isn't this impressive? And I sit there and I'm like, yes, I believe you. This was a difficult hand to create.
And there's all these, explanations for like what these different mahjong terms are and some of the footnotes and stuff, but I don't get them. What's important is that Ensa is able to declare run and go out in the next round. So she scores some points off of Kasuri, the fourth student that they're with. And so Iroha is like, oh, okay, I think I'm starting to get it. Just like with my ability to read faces, you can't necessarily read everything. If someone does something confusing, you get confused. And so he says to Ensa, who's sitting across from him at the table, which means their turns to interact with each other, pull your sleeves down to your fingertips. Because Karigane is looking at her hands right now. And so Ensa follows his directions and starts, taking her default sleeve hand form instead. And so Karigane is like, oh, wow, you literally just like spent the entire round just to confirm some suspicions. How'd you even figure it out? And Iroha says, well, when I said this thing in the previous chapter, you changed the subject. So that didn't sound like something you would normally say. So instead, I just kind of like used some cheap tricks to kind of draw you out. Like I would do this, I would do this. But I didn't know for sure until you confirmed them just now when I bluffed. Cool.
Wow.
How did you know that? You just told me. Blah. Yeah, that kind of thing. So, but then the cool thing happens because Karigane is like, look, you can't win. There's only 2 rounds left. I've got this massive lead over you. You're not the dealer in either of the 2 rounds that are left. I think it's about time that, you get ready to head home. And Iroha thinks about what Karigane had declared previously, which is her way of saving people is going to be to send them all home so that they all make it home safely. And as he starts to help shuffle the mahjong tiles, Iroha says, you should only say that to people who actually have a home to head back to.
Another fucking raw, hard-ass line from Iroha. I love it when this dude just drops some fucking deep-ass line that you're like, damn. Savage, son. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry your life
That's our
sucks.
hero. Hell yeah. So Karigane is kind of like, yeah, okay, maybe I was being a little bit insensitive to your individual situation, but look, I'm still going to do this. I don't want you to freaking die. I'm going to win here. And Iroha just gets a mischievous little smirk on his face, and he says, guess that means I get to show you my trump card. And everyone's like, what is he talking about? How could he possibly have a trump card at this point when he has, up to this point, had to just throw everything he's had into getting to the point that he is? He's not been holding anything back to this point. So we just completely like skip over the next round because it just kind of like goes by without incident. So it just is at the last round of the game. And remember, the last place person is going to be banned from the virtual academy forever. Only the person who gets in first place, who is currently Karigane, gets to advance. Irohazaka is over 30,000 points behind everyone. Everyone else has at least 6 times his score. So Ensa is really upset because she's like, I'm the one who scouted Karigane and I missed this. And she starts thinking about how she was told by Koshibai that she was the weak link, that she was just being brought along to be, garbage, to be fodder, to be sacrificed. And Iroha says, hey, Enchan, look up, look at me. If I lose, you have to clear the labyrinth. You have to become Code Emperor. And they exchange a look, and Ensa starts going into action from there. She starts discarding her tiles in segments instead of going out all at once, which we've seen happen before. She leaves herself with just a single tile, and I love the pose that she's left with, where she's just draping her sleeves over it, and on either side of it, looking really determined.
It's very cute.
It's very nice. And so they're like, "What's going on?" Well, she scored 6,400 points, which means that Karigane is, ahead right now. But if she gets hit, it'll take her below where Ensa is at this point from all the scoring that she's done. So she's in a vulnerable position. So Karigane is like, I get it. So the trump card the Iroha was referring to was having a friend that he could entrust his dream to. So I've got this stuff that I've shown them before. If all four are exposed, there's nothing left that I can read about her hand, because she's discarded everything. There's just the one tile left. I hate that, self-sacrifice. It's beautiful, but I hate it. And I could dodge a single unexposed tile with my eyes closed. And she thinks about what she's going to do next, and she's puts a tile down while considering how she's going to get out of her hand. And Iroha just declares, "Ron," and goes out and has hit her for 24,000 points. And because of that massive turnabout, now Karigane plummets into last place, and Iroha surges up past her. So Ensa wins the round by a little bit, but Karigane is the one who loses, which means by her own rules, she's the one banned from the Virtual Academy. So the whole thing was actually a big distraction for Karigane, this whole thing, all of Ensa's actions and everything up to this point. And Karigane finally realized, like, oh my god, you used the hand that she had as a distraction, and you made this plan without actually saying any words. You just exchanged a look, and that was it. And then she realizes, oh, you don't just read people's expressions. You can make people read your expressions to determine your meaning too.
It's very cool.
Yeah. And Iroha just kind of like stares at her and doesn't say anything back about it. The onlooker group kind of talk about it a little bit. Nohime says that Taiyu had mentioned something similar about Iroha, how he would use a lot of different facial expressions and stuff. So the game's over. Karigane is going to be banned from the Virtual Academy. So Iroha says before she goes,
to be fair.
For a year, yes. So he says to her, look, there's that battlefield dancer that I've been trying to decipher, and I've been trying to decipher their hand signals. If you watch it, maybe you could get some different intel than I would.
I like this a lot.
Yeah. And Karigane is like, you got third place in that match. You don't get to declare what you win off of this. And also you're going to have to stay on this floor until you progress. But she's like, all right, fine. Look, I won't fight anymore. And Iroha is like, I'm going to let everyone move on from here. And it'll be possible as long as I've got, Hanako Romo here. I've got Koshibai here. We'll figure something out. And he says, I wish that there was a way that I could have brought you along too. And Karigane just says, stop it. How am I supposed to say no when I see an expression like that? And she takes her glasses off. In reality, she takes her glasses off and leaves the room. Mm-hmm. So cool sequence to end that whole Mahjong combat. And then we come to a different floor where Toshusai has taken the stand in a trial. We shall hereby begin the military trial of the war criminal Kyora Toshusai. She is in handcuffs and chains and is still crossing her arms over her chest, looking like she don't give a fuck.
I love it. I always find like not mock trials, but like surprising trial. Yeah, Kangaroo Court things to be very amusing. They did it in Yu-Gi-Oh! In that one season. There was like a Justice League episode where it had happened. I don't know why. I always just find these things rather amusing to watch.
Briefly looking, it does seem as though like some of the art characters are going to have to take the stand as well as part of this trial. Like Taiyu is there, for example. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Interesting development, just moving between all these different weird games and stuff. But this was a cool conclusion to the Mahjong match. Yeah, so it's nice.
Very, very cool. Nick, we have to talk about Kagurabachi, which you said that you sort of remembered.
I sort of remember it. Okay, so there's a fight going on between two different sword wielders, and we cut to an hour ago. Okay, they talk about stuff.
I'm
Moving on. They talk about stakes and how last week was the anniversary of the war's end. Wow, it's like how last week there was a holiday. Cool. All right. And they're like, oh yeah, there's an exhibit for Rokuhira's swords and stuff. I'm sure the kids who see it look up to him as a great hero. Rokuhira and the Enchanted Blades are celebrated for bringing the war to an end, revered for their role in history. But if on this day we suddenly see the Enchanted Blades battling in the public, oh no, that would make people.
Everything is counting now.
Anytime
Anytime I hear on this day, that's the first thing I think.
Oh no, if people see them fighting with swords, then they'll hate the swords and their legacy. And this legacy of the swords is important because
He's like, my dad was, it's not him, I guess, saying it, but like everyone's like, oh, that guy was a good guy. He didn't make swords to kill people. He made swords to protect, and they helped end a war. So he's actually a good guy, and the children should respect him.
yeah, okay. So douchebag guy is fighting with Chihiro, and he's like, how is it you possess an enchanted blade I've never heard of? Because of course Chihiro's got the newest blade of the ones that Rokuhiro created. They both run out of the building that they're in and dash up buildings and stuff and start exchanging elemental blasts with fire and ice and stuff. And also Chihiro throws his wakizashi as a distraction for another slash, and he gets behind him and goes for an attack from the back, but he swings the sword behind him and blocks it and stuff. And this is, okay, cool magic samurai kind of stuff for a little bit. And then they're out in public, and creepy guy says, I love Kurishige Rokuhira. The weapons he created were exalted to feel a closer affinity to them. I read everything I could find about him, and just recently Cloud Gouger fell into my hands. A dream come true. Anyway, why do you have a sword I've never heard of? So I needed to explain to you some of my backstory. Now answer my question.
I do like it
because
they are trying to connect this with how we just learned like why there is like a thing here where they're like, hey, we want kids to see Rokuhira as a great hero because our society is built upon his swords being used to create peace, and if they're used for war, that's bad. And then we immediately see somebody who's like, oh yeah, dude, his swords were fucking wicked sweet. He was an evil ass dude. I know he was. Yep.
I know because of the fanfic I wrote about him.
He's like, yeah, I wrote a lot of fanfic, some of it's a little spicy.
Dude, please stop. That's my dad.
A lot of times it's not.
Well, your dad was an attractive man.
Your dad's a bottom. Your dad's a bottom. I want you to know your dad was a bottom in my stories.
He was an uke, as we call it.
Yeah. Your dad meets new guys and then lets all of them have sex with him from behind. Every time. It's without fail. I do a lot of crossover stuff. Ronald McDonald, Kratos from God of War, Brock from Pokemon, Brock's dad from Pokemon. Everyone that meets, they fuck him.
Look, what I'm trying to say is my Kurishige Rokuhira tag on AO3 has about 1,723 entries. All of them X-rated.
Yeah. No, there's one. I did a Christmas one, just like for the holidays. Just something light and fluffy. I know we alluded to the butt fucking in that one.
God. Anyway. So he demands to know Chihiro, why do you wield the sword that you have? And Chihiro says, in his father's own words, it's to defeat evil and to protect the weak. And I'm not sure if he is actually rolling his eyes in response to this, but I kind of want to say that he is, because he kind of looks like he is. And he's like, oh, I'm the only one who understands him. All the literature says the same thing, calling him a hero. There's only one reason to make weapons. I'll tell you what he wanted. And instead of going after Chihiro, he backs off the side of the building that they're on and starts descending into the crowded street below while whipping up an elemental attack. And he says, he gave birth to the enchanted blades, the ultimate weapons of slaughter, their only purpose to kill. And we get the completion of not Mr. Shiba, the aged guy's thought from earlier. If the swords were pitted against each other, casualties would be inevitable, and his heroic reputation would crumble. So it's important to Chihiro because he cares about his dad and stuff. Mm-hmm. So from Cloud Gouger, lightning bolt starts churning up, and he's just going to kill everyone. And with this attack, May, and a huge thunder strike goes off. But when the smoke clears, Chihiro is there, and he has been struck by the lightning bolt and is smoldering and bloody and stuff. And everyone else is unharmed and disperses and runs away from this immediately. So the guy demands, like, what did you do? And Chihiro just says, it's just like a lightning rod. When electricity meets with electricity, a lightning rod attracts lightning by emitting electricity from its tip. And so the guy realized, like, this guy has access to some sort of lightning elemental attacks, and he used it to channel all the lightning I dispersed through his katana and into himself to absorb the blast to protect everyone else. And then he's like, okay, I'll just do it again, though. But the lightning suddenly vanishes from his sword, and Chihiro says that, yeah, after Cloud Gouger releases a high-powered May attack, it requires an interval of 10 to 20 seconds to recharge. You're the one who doesn't understand anything. Of course, the guy's like, you've just been struck by lightning. Don't go acting all tough and stuff. So he moves in to finish him off differently, but Chihiro draws his second sword, calls upon his Bernie fish friend guys, and prepares to finish the battle. Yes, this all was happened. Some of it was kind of cool, but I did forget about it in between reading it.
Yeah, it's not bad. I like certain story elements. I do like the decision to have him like use his sword as a lightning rod to tank this attack so civilians get away. I always love that kind of super heroic stuff. So all that's fine. I'm not like in love with this series. I don't hate it. It's not like as bad as it was. I don't even remember if that was last week or a couple weeks ago when they were just like, oh, we're gonna kill like a bunch of people. It's fine. I'm having fine fun. It's whelming.
It's whelming.
Yeah.
Okay. High praise. Okay.
Let's talk about New Exorcist, Nick.
It's chapter 26, The Three's Secret. So last time, of course, the new branch of the Exorcists was established. And it's at the school, and Suo realized, like, I mean, now that we've got that, I mean, the occult club is essentially like moot. We don't really need it anymore. So, I'll go to the club room and I'll, move some equipment out of there. And she's like, oh, well, I wonder what's going to happen from now on. She goes into the room, and it's early enough in the morning that Gakuro and Hoshina have not woken up yet. So they're just in their futons sleeping side by side. And Suo just kind of looks at them, and she just sits at the in a gaming chair nearby. Just kind of has her breakfast and watches them. And Hoshina wakes up, spots Suo, and they're just gonna go.
Yeah, they do a little bow.
Little bow. She opens up the curtains, and Gakuro wakes up. And he's like, "Oh, Fujino, good morning." And then Suo says, "Morning." "Oh, goodbye."
Oh no! It's not what it looks like. I didn't kiss anybody, and then he falls out the window.
Wow, how do you fall out the window while he was sitting on the ground 6 feet away from it? That's amazing.
He fled. He tripped.
And Suo just says, like, I kind of already knew that you guys were staying here. I got a bit of the gist of it from Niue when I was transferred to this squad. I mean, I didn't know you guys were literally just sleeping next to each other. That there's a reason for this. And so I was like, oh man, big scoop. I should share this over line. No! It's like, I wouldn't do that. It'll just be our secret. It's fine. Anyway, Gakuro goes to class, and
they do this joke so frequently. It's obnoxious. Like we just recapped for a WMR Lives, which you can find on our Patreon, the chapter where it's the whole thing about like, oh, I hope no one finds that I'm hanging out with Sua. They might get the wrong impression. Glad that'll never happen. What? You're dating Sua? It's the same thing here. Like, oh, don't worry. I would never let anybody know that the two of you were like staying together. Basically, that's our secret. Oh, everybody knows.
Oh no. And Zeno is one of the guys who found out about it. So hey, he's alive. Cool.
Nick, how can you say that? This chapter proposes the idea that Zeno might join them in this house.
It's kind of crazy. So this is going down, and they say, "Oh my God, Yajiba, is it true you're sharing a house with Fujino?" And Gakuro's like, "Oh no, they found out in a toned down version." Eliminating the fact that they sleep in the same room immediately next to each other in the school. Yes. So Gakuro kind of like begs off immediately. And it's like, no, it's a misunderstanding. And says, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, we jumped to conclusions. That's okay. Fujino comes in, sits down. Well, can we have curry for dinner tonight? You fucker, Yajiba! You are living together. You are lying to us, and that's even worse.
You better let her have curry tonight. God damn it.
And then Nue just comes over to Gakuro and says, "Did you find another roommate for our house?" And so they're like, "Wait, does that mean that you also live with them?" Like, you guys,
she's her sister. It's his sister, not related by blood, of course.
It's like, how you guys didn't know that? Like, it would be kind of weird if whatever. It's just he said, like, I live too much with them, whatever that means. And so people are like, oh, you're looking for new roommates? Maybe I should apply. And so Gakuro says, what are you doing? And Nue telepathically communicates with him and says, I spread the rumor. And here's why. It's a stupid reason, but it's a reason. You see, was told by Heiichi, one of the other captains, which is like, oh, you said you'd send over squad members, right? And she's like, well, I always send over one. It's like, I mean, I haven't seen those. So yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. Probably because that Gakuro dork's your captain and stuff. Maybe. It's like, all right, well, can I get more team members? Well, maybe if you make a fool out of the captain, they'll come check him out. They're the type that enjoy seeing something like that. All right, this is a weird organization.
It's very strange. Yeah.
You could just order them, but whatever. So Nue's like, so, I figured that, if we just cause a stupid commotion like always happens to you, and make all your classmates hate you, like I keep on doing, then we'll get a new squad member, I guess. So just go along with things. Also, I don't know who the member is, so I'm giving you this. This is a super rare spirit that can sense an exorcist's power and take possession of them. And you're giving it to me. Yes. It only moves when an exorcist is around. Oops. So you just remove the lid, and the spirit should fly over to the exorcist's side and try to possess them. All right? So she says, I'm going to set up an info session after school, and you will be the presenter. So just keep everyone around until the new member of the squad comes. This is so weird. I don't know how this is actually connected. So
it really feels like it's not, I'll be honest.
Gakuro goes to Suo for help, and she's like, why are you coming to me? He's like, because you're good at public speaking and dealing with people. What about your sister? Well, she's helping out the science club today. Why? Nue's not an actual student. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So then people are also like spreading rumors about Suo and Gakuro because they're spending time together and stuff. Some of Suo's friends are kind of like watching them talk from a distance so they don't get all the details. And so one of them comes over and it's like, huh, are you feeling terrible about being treated cold-heartedly by Suo all this time? Look, there's a rumor about you living with another girl, and that's been making Suo jealous. It's been making Suo jealous. And Gakuro goes, what? That couldn't possibly be it. There's a rumor about you living with another girl. No, you're wrong. You're mistaken. No, that's densest boy alive. So
I'm such an idiot. This is the only good moment of this chapter.
The only good moment.
Where Suo immediately re-ranks. She's like, best friend to the person who didn't say anything. Friend, pointing to Gaku. And then to her other friend, she goes, clown girl.
Yeah. Yep. Good for her.
So she's been knocked down 2 ranks to clown girl.
Literally putting her in her place.
I love her face. Like, oh.
So later on, it looks like Suo has agreed with this plan, and so he's walking after her. He's like, "I'm sorry. Why are you sorry? For making you uncomfortable. I didn't feel uncomfortable. Oh, will you help me? Not even if you begged me to do it. Okay." He's not getting it and stuff. So Suo says, like, "Look, if you're gonna be a captain, then you've got to make an effort and do your best and stuff." And then she kind of realizes that she's been a little bit like snippy with him, and so she starts to apologize. And so, but Gakuro is like, "Oh, you gave me tough love. The only thing I respond positively to. I need to do my best. Goodbye." And he rushes off for the club room and is like, "Yes, that's right. What's the point of asking for advice before I even try? I mean, you're not going to have a chance to try again if you try badly. Never mind." So he's like, "I need to come up with a plan." He goes into the club room. Turns out there's a crowd already there for the whole thing. And it's not just an info session. It's the championship to claim a tenant position by defeating Gakuro. So just like before, where Gakuro had to fight off challengers so he's like, "What is happening? Why is this happening this way? And why now?" And Nue is like, "I didn't think the member would come if we didn't do this. However, the plan is pretty much the same." Okay? So now Gakuro's got to fight people. His first challenger is 2 guys who have their arms wrapped around each other, claiming they're one competitor. Okay? So
I'm so tired, Nick. I'm so sleepy.
A bunch of people object to this. They're like, "That's not fair. You can't do that." So Zeno's like, "Well, if that's allowed, then I'll join this side." He's like, he's going to fight alongside Gakuro.
I like he's immediately taken his shirt off.
Yes,
this is not a shirts versus skins fight. Gakuro's shirt has not been taken off. He was immediately like, "I'm going to pop this top off and fight for you."
So all these teenagers are, the most hormonal people ever. So they're immediately prone to getting horny and immediately prone to getting violent. So they're all like, "Just fight!" It looks like a huge brawl is going to break out. But then Gakuro feels inside the little jar that he's got the spirit that'll respond to the new member. It's reacting. So it's like, "I need to open it." He gets bum rushed by a bunch of people. It immediately flies out of his hands. It's like, "Oh no! Oh, I'm useless." And he tries to get it. But Suo's there too. And she's like, "Don't worry, Yachima. I'm throwing it to you right now. Saya Nue told me all about the plan. Since I'll be affected by it too, open it when I leave." So she's thought about this. So she knows that what would happen if it opened around her. And also, it will possess people. But it's okay, though. According to Nue, the people possessed by the spirit will be made to say what they honestly mean.
Holy shit. Oh my god. Are we not done this chapter yet?
Suo goes to throw the jar, and someone goes, "Now." And the jar shatters in her hand, and the spirit comes out. Gasp.
Presumably,
end of chapter.
Fucking Nue. She's the one who does everything. This chapter sucks. Can we move on, please?
I feel like we were reacting when we did the week WMR Lives recently. How I was like, hey, remember how insane and weird early new Sexorcist was, and how it would just do random shit in a row. This was definitely a return to that.
Sure.
And I think it was the worst example of it so far.
I surely like after
very fun.
After like a couple pages, like I don't really even know what's happening in this chapter anymore. It goes so many different places, none of them good. Yeah, just not.
We gotta move on.
Yeah, we have a lot to catch up on.
2 on Ice, Chapter 8. After the snow clears. Hey, last time Kisara landed a triple axel in her routine and stuff. They do observe like it wasn't perfect. She kind of under rotated, but was still good. And Hayuma like reflects on how like, she's that cruel girl I looked up to all the way back then. But something about her also seems different. And he watches her perform. And hey, we get this nice big 2-page spread collage of her just going through her routine, looking very beautiful and elegant. And Kisara gets a really good score. She gets first place, although it's seemingly not as good as Natsumi, one of the Natsu twins. Not as necessarily as high as she expected, but she still fucking wins. So now we go over to Hayama. He's getting ready to do his routine. He's like, "Oh, I'm all antsy and stuff." So he's doing, freaking jump ropes. And then he's like, "Oh, now I'm too worked up. I'm all nervous and everything." He's looking around and he finds Natsuya, the male twin. Apparently, he was wearing the mascot costume.
Yep, he's something the giraffe.
Yeah. And then he tries to talk to Natsuya, and he just puts the mascot head back on and does not talk to him.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I want that costume now. I also want to just be like...
It's magical.
Put it back on.
So that kind of like calms Hayuma down, but then he's like, oh shit, the person in front of me is performing, so he has to run off immediately. And then it's the person ahead of him is Roland Fujiwara, current number 2 in all of Japan, who is doing his routine, and he is ridiculous. He's doing quads and stuff, and Hayuma realizes maybe it's just because I'm not watching him on TV, but in real life, but he seems cooler. And then he's like looking at, the twins, and he's like, but Kisara can do a quad too, right? And she says, I mean, in 5th grade she could, yes, but she can't really do most of them anymore because she's been focusing on Paris competition. And she says, like, look, right now the men in the top class do insane routines. So you should watch closely because this is the potential that Kisara saw in you, the world of men's signals. And Roland does an absurd routine. Even when they kind of adjust scores because there are different scoring between men and women, he kind of blows Kisara's completely out of the water. And now Hayuma is really realizing, I never, stopped to imagine what things would be like when I actually caught up with Kisara. Is there a path ahead of me that she can't take once I do catch up with her? So, and when she was telling me to try singles, is this what was she feeling at that moment when she did that? So he's finally getting the whole picture of what's actually going on that everyone else has realized prior to him, and how he's going out to perform his first singles free skate in a competition, and he will be performing to La Strada like they've been practicing. That's where we end the chapter.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how it happens from there. I do think that we get some cool art here and visuals in this chapter, but beyond that, I'm still kind of sitting here waiting to really kind of reconnect with this series.
The Elusive Samurai, Chapter 133, Romance, 1337. Last time, Shizuku and Ayako were having a kind of one-sided conversation about Tokiyuki.
It was girl talk, Nick, It
was girl talk.
The way girl talk.
The way the girls do, talking about sharing boys.
Now, Nick, not the first time polygamy has been discussed this week in Shonen Jump.
I was going to make the observation, yes. There were 2 chapters that very explicitly mentioned the possibility of polyamorous relationships this was the worst one. So Ayako's like, look, high-ranking warriors married for political reasons. They were only free to love their concubines. That seems reductive. And also inaccurate in general. Oh, yes, these were loving relationships. Some, maybe, I'm sure. But Ayako's like, hey, look, we can share the young lord, and then eventually he'll get married too, and then we'll just be one big happy household. And Shizuka's like, no, that'd be bad. Because in the future, when lovers two-time, their reputation goes up in hellfire. And Ayako's like, the future is that bad? This is very weird. This is it's like, look, I'm not saying that monogamy is perfect and everything, but it's just kind of like a crazy talking point to take. So Ayaka's like, well, but the future isn't now, so we should like do what we want for now and stuff. And Shizuku's like, look, I've been kind of afraid to look into the future since I got my father's abilities passed on to me. Suddenly Tokiyuki comes up to her and is like, hey, can you pick apart the live bait? Because I can't bear to. And Shizuku gets all like, oh, okay. And Ayaka's like, I want to do it too. And so the three of them are just kind of like all at a table together. And they're both on either side of Tokiyuki, looking at each other around him and kind of communicating silently with blushy looks. And Ayaka's like, if you aren't interested, then I'll claim him for myself. Which is how love works.
Yeah.
So, hey, this is a different, interesting, weird, but interesting conversation going on. You know what I could use? Akie showing up.
I like how the characters, after he leaves, literally comment like, I think did he just offer anything? I think he just wanted to show up.
Shizuku literally says he just wanted to appear in this chapter. But he does offer her the example of he's not worried about the future. He's confident in himself. But then a young man comes up to Tokiyuki who says like, hey, I used to be a monk at the Tosho Temple, and I saw the final moments of the Hojo clan. And so I know about you, and I know how you've been defeated in the past, but you always come back. You're able to make friends with your former enemies. You're my age. How can you keep doing this? How can you keep fighting? Aren't you afraid of dying in battle? And Tokiyuki says, I'm actually very afraid. But there are two wolves inside me. He says two fathers, because there's my blood and pride for my real father, which I cannot squander his inheritance, and there's the love and ambition for my adoptive father, and I cannot squander that by hiding in fear of death. And the boy says, our father's that important, because I also want to fight for my father, but my mother was a lowly concubine, and I'm afraid he would turn me away. And Tokiyuki says, look, I don't know your situation specifically, but if I were your father, I wouldn't turn you away. Wives and concubines are both important, so he should welcome you with open arms. If he did refuse you, it shows you he is irresponsible and selfish. Walk ahead without fear. And so the boy's like, all right, I feel braver now. Thank you. I'm going to go get stronger, and I'm going to go and meet my father. And oh, isn't that nice? Tokiyuki leaves them all better. I'm sure we'll never see him again.
No.
And so, but seeing this happen and seeing the way that Tokiyuki talks about all the different facets of this conversation is the perfect conversation to have for her at this moment. She thinks he doesn't fear the future. He's soft-hearted. He's stubborn. He's overly optimistic. I like him all the same.
Uh-huh.
And so she just decides to deal with the immediate here and now, which is the hunting competition that they're on. She takes a bomb from Genba and has Ayako row out with her in their one fishing boat that they have. She drops the bomb in the water, and it goes and Shizuku calls out to the Nanbu, the guy who mocked them before, and says, I brought you a bounty. And a fucking whale comes out and beaches itself on the beach. And the Nanbu get credit for it. And so they'll say, all right, yeah, they fucking win. So Ayako, of course, asked Shizuku, like, so you wanted him to win? And she says, look, they traveled the furthest. They need the provisions the most. I've been worried about, like funds for the future, but you and Nisama woke me up, so I have to do what I want without fear. And what I want to do most is achieve his objectives. And the other stuff you mentioned, we can, talk about that later. So yeah, they've got to do all that stuff. The two of them all kind of like go over, and there's a cute moment where Ayako it's like carrying Shizuku over. She grabs Tokiyuki and it's like, I caught a Shizuku. And he's like, what a fine catch. It's like, oh, that's cute. Yeah. Anyway, that boy we just met, who was not important at all, turns out he's Takauji Ashikaga's son via concubine. And so he's like, the next time we meet Tokiyuki Juno, we may be enemies. And we get narration saying he and his father Takauji would someday try to kill each other. Ooh.
So apparently, for people who know the history of this is a pretty big deal. I don't. So I'm just going to roll with the punches. Look, this, again, I'll reiterate, this could be about American politics or American history. I would still just be like, yeah, Aaron Burr hanging out with Abraham Lincoln. This is pretty fucking cool. Like, I wonder what's going to happen. This is... this is wild shit. It's fucking... And Teddy Roosevelt's going to be there. Like, this is all right. I can't wait. This is exciting. I don't know what to tell you. This is not my strongest subject.
Oh, and then they're all going to team up and go and get that bastard Benedict Arnold.
Yeah, they got to stop Benedict Arnold before he gets back to the British, or they're going to lose the Revolutionary War.
Oh, man. And then there's not going to be enough people for them to have the War of 1812.
One of my favorite jokes I ever did with my brother was just a bit we started doing. It was the idea that I was like a time traveling assassin. And they're like, we're going to send you back in time to kill the 17th president. And I'm like, yes, I have to kill Grover Cleveland. I'm killing Gerald Ford then, I believe. He'll never know what hit him.
I'm killing Al Gore. No, wait, that can't be right.
I'm going to be taking out John Quincy Adams. Not John Adams. I know not to make that mistake.
Not twice.
Not again.
At least this character is introduced with kind of an intriguing hook. He's very concerned about what his father's going to think of him. He's going to end up trying to kill his father in the future. That's a nice hook to start off on. It's like I was saying before about how the way that polyamorous things are usually depicted in manga, where it's just like, oh, the guy's just got to get all the girls and stuff, and it's like it feels very like hollow that this is happening in this way. And it's again weird that they're talking about it in terms where it's like, y'all are like 14 and you're talking about being this 12-year-old's concubines. It's odd, but there are some nice little touches here and there in this chapter. I do appreciate that they flat out just say it's like, yeah, Kie just did nothing to contribute to this chapter when he didn't.
I wish I had more like of a positive feeling towards the idea of this, love triangle polyamory ending. But one, I don't know if we're going to be there. It seems bold to do that, but I don't think they're going to. But two, I also this is neither of these relationships are interesting because we really don't get to see them. But basically both girls will kind of just from afar be like, oh, he's so cool. And they don't interact. There's been a little bit, I think, with Tokiyuki and Shizuka, but it's still not a lot.
Not in a while.
Not in a long time, definitely. But the
last time that there was overt mention of it was when she had that battle, the little game where she put him to sleep and then was kissing him as a distraction and stuff. It's been so long since then, and yeah, it's way more interesting to see relationships develop between people as opposed to them talking with their friend who also has a relationship with the guy. But wouldn't it be great if one of us had a romantic relationship with him? What if we both did? It's you could So, all right, moving on.
We have so little time. We have 2 series left to do. We got to chew through Akane-banashi. No time to even talk about it. She's doing Rakugo. Next series, Nick.
Story 86, New Breeze. This is the show that's going on involving the Arakawa New School people that are all coming up through the ranks. Hikari was the opener. This Yuzen guy with the weird hair is the next one, and then it's Koguma as the third act, and Kaisei is the main event. And so Yuzen is upset about this backstage. He's like, I should be the closer. Sure. And Kaisei is just like, hey, if you're unhappy about it, show me up with your Rakugo. That's the Arakawa way, isn't it? So, very shonen, just like, hey, just fucking,
Beat me.
knock me down. Yeah, beat me. And hey, I do like that Hikaru's like pulled into this because she's like, hey, the only reason I'm still into Rakugo is because I had a shonen rivalry with that girl. So yeah, this feels good. But she also observes that Koguma is just very quietly, sitting in the corner, just reading one of his Rakugo books. So yeah, they're going on about stuff. Yuzen, sees Koguma and is like, I appreciate all the eyes that you brought onto this thing, but if you try and show me up, you're not going to get any mercy. And then he looks at, does a passive glance towards Koguma, and he's like, you're just the opposite, too. He doesn't even consider him an option, a threat, basically, to him stealing the show. So he goes up on stage and he's like, I'm going to show you all who the real star is. And he just goes for like the big laughs, piles on jokes and everything. And Hikaru compares him to Kaichi and is like, look, I was the opener and he's kind of blowing me out of the water right here. He's specifically, able to do that. Koguma approaches her and says like, you're kind of being more spirited than I thought you were. And Hikaru says, well, you're being really cold because that guy, he's mocking you, but you barely reacted. Didn't that irritate you? And he says, you can't let that stuff affect your emotions. Anger doesn't translate to power. And so Hikaru's like, oh, that's so mature. No, not really. This just isn't the place where I fight back. And Yuzen comes off stage and he's like, ha, yeah, I'm the best. Who's it? Who's the king of Rakugo? I'm the star. Koguma just breezes by him. He's like, thanks. We're done with you here. And he takes the stage while saying, also, believe it or not, I'm the type to hold a grudge. And he takes the stage, and of course, he's got his hair slicked back, the glasses off and stuff. And Yuzen's like, is that really the same guy? And everyone's like, he's just completely different once he takes the stage. Of course, we've established that before. And Kuga starts launching into his story, and everyone observes like this is Koguma rather starts launching into his story, and everyone's like, huh, this is like, I don't know what story this is. Hikaru doesn't recognize it, and she's like, I've been listening to all these different stories for study purposes. I've never heard of this one before. And Yuzen says over to Kaisei, I don't know this one. This ain't a new story, right? And Kaisei doesn't know what it is either. But guess who does know it? The old journalist critic guy. And I love this, that we get his observation on this, because he's like, I don't get it. I recognize the story, but how did he learn it? And he's sitting right next to Iken, and he's like, the way they did it is just that, he went and he fucking found it. Because they just explained, look, all the Rakugo stories that are handed down since the Edo period from like teacher to student, there are about 400, there are about 200 of those, but there's over 800 if you look at the written sources. So this is his ability to just access all these great deep stories because he's just the research master of everything. He is an unparalleled teller of the classics. And we get this cool shot of Koguma standing in a massive library. And so Hikaru's realizing, like, yeah, of course, I thought it was fishy. Like, there's no way that someone who is one of Akane's Ani-sans would be a cold, uncaring guy. He's using the big stage to challenge us with a story that even other Rakugoka don't know. He wants to be the star. Cool chapter.
It's extremely cool. I love what they're doing setting up Koguma as like this historian, this almost like Indiana Jones, like I will revive this story. Essentially, it's like a very cool concept to play with, and I just really like him in this moment. He looks extremely cool, and I'm super jazzed for it. To be honest,
yeah,
looks like good stuff.
All right,
Nick.
Quinn, Take us to the finale. It's One Piece.
Let's wrap this up with One Piece, chapter 1098, Bonnie's birth. Before I talk about One Piece, I really quickly want to say to everybody, well, I guess this is talking about One Piece, but not the chapter. I want to say to everybody, if you are curious to hear what both Nick and I's thoughts are on the new live-action One Piece series, the bonus podcast we recorded that we kind of sat on until the strike was over has been released. So if you are curious to listen to it, you can find it on our Patreon, patreon.com/weekly manga recap. It is available for everybody. You do not even have to be a patron to access it. It is just a place to host it. So go check that episode out if you are interested. All right, Nick, let's talk about some heavy shit now.
Yeah. There is a nice little thing in the cover page. Brooke rocking out. The background's a little bit spotty, and there's a note on Brooke's pants that's a note from Oda, which just says, "I didn't finish the art in time. Sorry."
Yes. It is very fair and understandable. So yeah, as you'll see as we get through the chapter, this chapter was not finished. I want to stress that I hope Oda takes as much time to rest as possible. We are getting very close to chapter 1100, and I would love for Oda to take breaks and do everything he wants, because this his health is important, and
Yes.
I want to see him happy and healthy.
Yes.
So we pick up where we left off before, which is Ginny has been captured. There's a bunch of chaos kind of going around. They're like, oh, we gotta get aid. Everything in the South Blue is getting like overrun. Ivankov's like, we can't go. Our ship's already loaded up with the injured from the Goa Kingdom. This is where Sabo is, so connection there. Kuma's like, I'll go. And they're like, no, you can't. You'll be pushing yourself. And he just thinks about Ginny. And we get a little bit more detail that a celestial dragon has had their eye on her. And she was basically taken to be the celestial dragon's wife. Now, this sequence here is a little hard for me to understand. If I understand correctly, Kuma shows up, I believe, where she was taken from. And his efforts seem like they help turn the tide and they win thanks to the Revolutionary Army. But he wasn't able to save Ginny. It seems like they strike a victory, but at the end, he's just like, I'm tired. I'm going to take a ship.
I'm going home.
Yeah. And Dragon's just very sorry about this. They note that she was abducted, abused, and made into a celestial dragon's wife. And 2 years later, there is sort of a follow-up as a call comes in to Boltago that says, hey, Ginny, it's here. Ginny is contacting us. I'm back on the lower world. But she's sick. The only reason why she's free is because she stopped being, useful anymore to the Celestial Dragon, so they dumped her off. And she's like, I would love to see you all, but this is me saying goodbye. And Kuma's like, oh, what are you saying? I thought I'd never see you again, but where are you? I'll immediately be there. And she's like, look, I'm sorry. I'm dying. I won't be long now. I appreciate it, but do not come. Dragon, big brother, watch over Kuma. He's too kind for his own good. And Kuma, just remember, I'll always love you. Kuma immediately figures out, like, there's only one place she'd go. He immediately teleports himself back over to the Sorbet Kingdom. And by the time he's there, it's too late. He gets to his church. The elderly are there. He also left before she said, I'll always leave you. I'll always love you, which is very sad as well. When he gets there, her body is there, but there are these weird stones, these hard blue stones that are all over her, and they say that it's after she's been exposed to all this light, and he just thinks about her. We get all these little flashes of it, and her saying, hey, hey, let's get married. I'm going to make you happy. And he's just crying. One of the elderly individuals is like, yes, he crossed the sea by day, basically ensuring that she would die to ensure that her baby lived in case anything happened to herself. So somehow she made it here safely, and they present Kuma with baby Bonnie. And Kuma just says, don't worry, Ginny. I will raise your daughter We get like a quick panel to show him at the grave, and then the chapter gets a lot cuter from here on.
For a little bit, yeah.
Because Kuma is being a father, and it's actually very, very adorable. All the elderly
old people are like, "You're doing it wrong."
Yeah, but they're all trying to help. They're like, "Oh, you're holding the bottle at the wrong angle. You're drowning her." And one person makes a note. They're like, "You're gonna need to put her in an iron cage because you're so big you'll crush her if you roll over." But they also note they're like, "Oh, once she starts drinking, she really, really drinks. She really has Ginny's appetite, and that makes Kuma happy." There's a bunch of like flashes of like her growing up a little bit as she like starts to walk and say her first words.
Her first word is "daddy," and Kuma cries. It's very sweet.
Yeah. And it's juxtaposed as she's doing stuff. He's spending time with her. We also see him continuing his work as a revolutionary soldier. They literally show that she does sleep in a metal cage in case he rolls over on her. We do see a quick, yeah, we do see a quick panel of Sabo training with Kuma, which is fine. But suddenly, Kuma has nailed shut all of the windows in the church. And they're like, why have you shuttered everything? He's like, shut the door. Look below her eye. And Bonnie has this stone, a blue stone on her cheek. And they're like, oh my gosh, is this the same thing that killed Ginny? Like, we got to call a doctor. We got to figure this out. Let's do a test. This chapter moves very fast, so if this sounds kind of frantic, I just want to note that is the pacing of this chapter. We get a doctor who kind of name drops law disease, but is like, it's not white lead, but I don't know what the fuck this is. And Kuma quits the revolutionaries. He's like, look, I don't know what my daughter has. I don't know what to do, but I want to be with her. And Dragon is like, yeah, I get it. Go do what you need to do. I'll use all of our resources to help find a doctor. Don't worry about it.
So you have a child and you are quitting the revolutionaries to be with them.
I don't understand. I get that. That sentiment absolutely.
Man, if I had a child, I don't know if I could go on doing this revolutionary life.
Yeah. So we are now 7 years ago, and Bonnie is age 5. Nick, we'll come back to that at the end of this chapter.
I have spontaneously lost my ability to do math. I don't know what that means.
That means she's 37 or something, then, right? You're the opposite to my history assassin. Bonnie is age 5, and a bunch of bullies are running away from her, and Bonnie has this cool thing where she's flipping them off, like, get out of here, you stupid brat. She looks very cool.
It's a cool pose, yeah.
But they're all like, yeah, you can't come out this far. You're a vampire. You can't come into the light. Take this. And she just drop kicks one of them. She's like, shut up. This is a church, I
live in a church.
But immediately Kuma's like, no, please don't go outside. I get nervous even when you're in the doorway. And she's like, it's fine, Daddy. I was just kidding with them. It's fine. He's like, but don't even do it as a joke. You worry me too much. She's like, I don't want to make you sad. He's like, oh, you're going to be such a good girl when you grow up. She's like, oh my gosh, fine.
She's 5 and she's already, you know what? I kind of do buy that she's, acts older than she is if she's acting this way at 5 years old.
Yeah. So she's like, you know what they did though, Dad? They made fun of my face stones again. Is that weird? Like this thing? It's a disease. I can't help it. And Kuma has the most terrifying expression ever. He comes in, he's like, you're a Jules? It's very disturbing. Please don't ever make that face again, sir. And he's just like, they're just jealous because it makes you look so beautiful. And she's like, oh, is that so? I love them then. It's very, very sweet. And he's talking with her then. He's like, after you're cured, Bonnie, if we went on a trip, where would you want to go? Curious line to say there, Kuma. Curious line to say. And she's like, the Sky Islands. She's like, oh, there are islands in the sky. She's like, yeah, I read it in this book. And maybe Nico will be there because we'd be so close to the sun. I bet you'd be excited. He starts doing his Nika dance and everything like that. He's like, oh, that would be a big adventure. Maybe you could do that one when you're 20. Where would you go on your 19th birthday? And she's like, Fishman Islands. Very, very cute. Again, there is no transition. She's like, I'm going to go to Fishman Island.
She's going to die.
Your daughter's disease is incurable. It's such a whiplash. But they're like, she has this thing called sapphire scales. It has only a very few cases in recent memory, but any kind of sunlight starts triggering it and causes the stone to spread. But even if you block her out from all sunlight completely, it will eventually still take her over. This is like an inevitable thing. And to be brutally honest, she's got 5 years left in her, basically.
Yeah.
And Kuma's like, wait, are you saying she's going to die at age 10? He's floored by this. That conversation ended there, by the way. He's like, because they're like, there's no cure. So he just kind of leaves because we had to transition to the next scene, which is Bonnie surprising him and be like, hey, I heard you said age 10. What's going to happen at age 10? Is it about me? And he's like, yeah, the doctor said, you're not going to get better until you reach age 10. And she's like, oh, but that's really far away. But you're saying I'm going to be better when I'm 10 and then I can go around the world with you? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Of course you'll be better when you're 10. And she's like, yay! This is so sad for a couple reasons.
She was 10 when the fucking time skip happened.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that she was 10 years old when she was a pirate at the time skip. So we end the chapter by saying it is now 1 year later, and the nightmare has returned to the Sorbet Kingdom. The elderly have come to Kuma, and they're like, King Bikori is doing it again. It's 16 years ago all over again. He's going to burn the country down, burn away everybody who he thinks is weighing down the country. So we end the chapter there as Kuma's like, oh no.
So oh man. There's a lot in this chapter.
There is a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of hints towards stuff, establishing like why Bonnie behaves the way that she does. Not just that she has the age-changing fruit, but
why her name is Jewelry Bonnery or Bonnie. I don't know why I always add an R to her name.
Jewelry Bonnery, so indicates like, she acts older than she is by default because of this thing where age was such an important thing because her father didn't expect her to live beyond 10 years old. And also it does seem like the big point we're building to is, of course, Kuma has lost someone that he loved more than anyone else to this disease, and now he's going to lose a person that he has also loved more than anyone else to the same disease if he doesn't do something. And of course, we know what happens with him eventually. He becomes a pacifista and stuff. Why would he do that? Well, the government, the organization that did it to him also has access to the most renowned scientist in the world. So it seems like some sort of deal was struck to save Bonnie's life. Obviously, we don't have confirmation of that yet. This chapter itself took us in a couple of unexpected places, so not gonna pen that in yet, yes. But we'll see.
So there are, I guess, two things of controversy to reference. I had made mention last week when you brought up Bonnie. I knew that she was a child at that point. I had that spoiled to me from this chapter, cool. So that's why I was kind of like, oh, Nick, let's not. Maybe these questions will come up next week. Who knows? But yes, the big thing here is that the Bonnie that we know is 12 years old. That makes a couple things we've had happen recently in the manga a little uncomfortable, with the art in particular. Not a fan of that.
Put on some pants, young lady.
Not a huge fan of that, so I'm gonna note that. I will also note, I knew Ginny wasn't gonna live this flashback. Yeah. It felt very unlikely. I do think I'm a little upset that it feels like women in recent One Piece flashbacks have been very much fridged pretty frequently.
Yeah, especially mothers of daughters, in a lot of them.
I was gonna say, ever since like the New World, it's been pretty harsh to be a mom in a One Piece flashback.
Yeah, Olivia to Robin, Shirahoshi's mother, freaking like Vivi's mother's not around.
Rebecca's mother was the one who was who's dead, so Kairos can be there. I feel like there's someone else. Toki,
Well,
Odin and Toki are both dead, so I won't count that. But it's just the idea. Mr. Pink or Senor Pink's wife is true. The one that blows my mind, because One Piece sometimes has a pace of like Phrygian women. I'm like, never forget the OG of Phrygian in One Piece, which is Portgas D. Rogue, who was dead in her introduction.
Introduced she carried Ace to term way past when she should have and died in the process. Okay, moving on.
You're like, what the fuck, man? I understand there's narrative here, there's a story. I am willing to go along with this journey. It was just an unfortunate thing. And I think part of it is this chapter is shorter than the normal One Piece chapter. Oda was not able to finish the art and everything like that. I get it. It felt like we very quickly just lost Ginny. I had noted before, I was like, oh, I'm going to hold off because there's going to be a chapter where I'm really going to get emotional about Ginny. And there just wasn't time. Like I mentioned last week, I was like, Ginny has a cool new arts, like a cool new design. Things aren't looking great. I don't love that she's been captured. But then this chapter's like, she was captured. She's free. She has a child. There we go. And she's dead. And it's like
to say nothing of the let's call them implications of Bonnie's conception.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into that. But just the note of like, I wish we could have gotten a little bit more time with Ginny. We did get some time, so I will appreciate that. But this was, I think, a little disappointing to feel like the goodbye. And maybe that's intentional. Maybe that's an artistic decision on Oda to make it feel very distant because Kuma is going through that pain as well. But yeah, just wanted to share my thoughts, I guess, on that.
Yeah, I do really like what we see of the relationship between Kuma and Bonnie, though. I think that scary faces that he makes occasionally aside, it's very, very sweet. And yeah, there's just a lot of ground that got covered, and a lot of it was really heavy. So, okay. That is it for Weekly Manga Recap, everybody. Let's go over what was good this week. Quinn, what was your favorite chapter?
Oh, man. Chapter of the week is hard, honestly. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of good contenders. I'm trying to go through them all in my head.
I am going to
if you want to go first.
Mine is Cipher Academy.
Okay.
It's a bit of an odd one, I know, because there were a lot of really good chapters this week. But honestly, I just like the very Yu-Gi-Oh! Of it, where they're playing a board game and there's a massive turnabout. And I like the way that a lot of it is, for lack of a better term, shot. Like the images that we see in the setup. And I love the very simple misdirection that happens because of the trust and the communication between Iroha and Ensa, and also the implication that Iroha's got this ability that no one's really like clocked yet up to this point. They just had suspicions about it. It's a cool one.
I will say I'm going to give my chapter of the week to My Hero Academia. I think it was a really, really fun and exciting chapter. I liked seeing Bakugo go full explosion chaos mode. I liked All For One being like, no, I hate you. You remind me of the second. Why are you so annoying? Like the setups, everything just felt very exciting. So I'm going to give it to My Hero Academia, my character of the week. Contrary to popular belief, everyone's going to be like, Sigmund, right? With the peanuts. It's not Sigmund. I'm going to actually give it to Koguma from Akane-banashi because I really, really was like in awe of like this idea of like a historian reviving sort of dead Rakugo is a very, very cool concept to play off of. So I was a super big fan of that.
I am going to give mine to Bakugo because he was very cool in this chapter, unleashing this new ability and stuff, grinning like a madman the whole time. And the only two times that he actually directly talks to All For One, he just kind of says the kind of stuff that we all want to say to him. And that's great.
Yep. All right. Well, that is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week. Nick?
Yeah. So we record episodes here on twitch.tv/RoloT Wednesday evenings starting around 7:30 Eastern time. To stay updated on exactly when we go live, you can join the WMR Discord server. Click the link wherever this gets posted, which will be on YouTube, it'll be on Spotify, it'll be on Podbean, and all of the places where the podcasts and stuff are.
Oh, sorry. Yes. The audience, by the way, I'm sorry. Thank you, Black Endo, for reminding me. One Piece won the audience pick for chapter of the week, and Kuma won the character of the week. I apologize.
And if you want to make your voice heard and polls like that, join that Discord and also check out the Weekly Manga Recap Google Doc spreadsheet that is maintained by Ninja X3i, which keeps track of voting for the audience, for us, best series, worst series, and recommendations that we are taking and have taken in the past. We'd like to thank Milo Jack Stillitz and Wednesday Dog Cheddar for creating the opening sequence of the show for the YouTube version. Steve Mann occasionally does title card artwork for us as well. And if you want more Weekly Manga Recap, like Quinn was talking about earlier, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap. Our discussion of the One Piece live-action Netflix series is available for free, and there's also bonus content that we post on there, usually once per month, if you become a supporter.
Yes.
I think that's everything.
We're going to have a new bonus podcast out very soon, so stay tuned. It's going to be a weird one. We'll talk about it next week. But I think next week we're also going to be talking about Yu Yu Hakusho, Nick.
Yeah.
We're going to try. We're going to try. That's what we're going to go for. So stay tuned for that, everybody. I think that's it. I think that's everything we have. So we are going to get on out of here. I'm off to assassinate the 18th president of the United States. So I believe I'm heading back to 1912 or so.
12 plus 5 is 620.
There we go. We're an unstoppable tag team. No one will be able to beat us.